PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Who is he? What's he doing there?
They already know who you are, though.
Don't miss this special reunion, Eamon and Anne together again only on GB News Breakfast this weekend from 6 a.m.
And is that a gardening tan?
No, it's a cypress tan.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Friday, the 11th of July. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Dawn Neeson.
Now, Keir Starmer's claimed one-in, one-out migrant returns deal with France faces a major hurdle, with EU officials and member states already pushing back.
Brexit Britain. We voted to take back control of our borders, not to accept a deal given to us by a French president.
And a furious Nigel Farage hits back as French President Emmanuel Macron blames Brexit lies for Britain's migrant crisis.
Meanwhile, more trouble on the economic front. Yes, Britain's economy unexpectedly shrinks for a second month in a row, piling pressure on Rachel Reeves as global uncertainty deepens.
And yeah, you knew it was coming. The first hosepipe ban of the year is now in force after England's dry spring in more than a century. Yorkshire is officially in drought, and anyone caught breaking the rules could face a £1,000 fine.
Elsewhere, GPs told to stop signing millions off work and instead send patients to job coaches or even the gym. Yes, Health Secretary Wes Streeting says we can't afford to keep writing people off as a radical new pilot launches across 15 regions.
And it's men's semi-finals day at Wimbledon. We'll have all the latest on what to expect on day 12 in SW19. And if Tom looks a little flushed in the face, and you've only just joined us, thank you for your company, we love it.
Yeah.
It's because he was just doing some press-ups in the middle of the studio floor with Ben.
When I got in this morning, I did not expect to be challenged to a live television push-up contest.
Yes.
I'm just disappointed that I had a haircut yesterday. I could have got the Clark Kent sort of twirl in the hair,
that would have made
a proper
all
Superman difference.
Ben, that would have made all the difference.
Yeah.
And you could have put your pants on over your trousers, and nobody would have known.
Genius. Well, do you know what? We might have to save that for later in the programme.
I can't wait. I'm sure you can't either. If you would like to see young Tom with his pants over his trousers, please do get in touch. This programme is all about you and your views. So let me know what you're let us know what you're thinking about. gbnews.com/yoursay. And any topic, no topic off limits, especially pants over trousers. Is that right or wrong? Over to you. But first, let's get the news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Good afternoon. The top stories. The Home Secretary says the new one-in, one-out migrant scheme agreed with France is robust enough to withstand potential legal challenges. Sir Keir Starmer secured the deal in the latest effort to reduce small boats crossing the Channel. The scheme still needs the approval of the European Commission, and French President Emmanuel Macron took direct aim at Brexit yesterday, blaming it for the small boats crisis. The Border Force and the RNLI have been deployed in the English Channel this morning as small boats have been spotted trying to come to the UK. The first Border Force boat carrying migrants has arrived at Dover and more vessels are out at sea. Yvette Cooper says that migrants crossing the Channel will be detained as part of the deal with France.
The whole purpose of what we're doing is to bring down these dangerous boat crossings because we think no one should be making those boat crossings. What we did say, what the Prime Minister said yesterday, is there's no single silver bullet, whether it's about this new returns agreement, which frankly I think is the right thing to do, or any of the other measures that we're talking about. We've seen 6 years of people claiming that one single thing, particularly the previous government claiming one single thing, or opposition parties claiming one single thing is going to solve it. What we need is a comprehensive approach that looks across the board.
Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp said the UK's migrant returns deal with France is a gimmick which will be no deterrent whatsoever.
I'm afraid this deal is another hopeless gimmick, just like Keir Starmer's pathetic claim a year ago to be smashing the gangs, which has dismally failed because record numbers of illegal immigrants so far this year have crossed the Channel, record ever numbers. This is another gimmick, just like the smash the gangs claim. And the reason for that is that only 50 illegal immigrants per week are going to get sent back to France. And that amounts to only 6% of the illegal arrivals. Now, that means that 94% of illegal arrivals are going to be allowed to stay in the UK.
Private companies are cashing in on billions of pounds in government contracts as researchers attempt to unravel the true costs of the UK's border security. One of the biggest contracts was £1 billion for the provision of maritime security drones. Another private contractor won a £7.7 million tender to provide marquees at migrant processing centres in Kent. Researchers at Open Democracy claim to have identified around £5 billion worth of contracts to provide services aimed at enhancing the UK's border security. The figures add to the cost of the wraparound services for Channel migrants. A National Audit Office report last month put the asylum seeker accommodation bill alone as high as £15 billion over a decade. Elsewhere, the government is urging GPs to issue fewer sick notes and instead direct patients towards gyms and support services to help more people to return to work. Under the new pilot programme being trialled across 15 locations, GPs will be given money to employ dedicated teams to help people find a job. It comes as the number of NHS fit notes hit 11 million last year, more than double the figure in 2015. The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, says the UK's economy could no longer afford to keep writing people off. The UK economy shrank unexpectedly in May, contracting for the second month in a row. The economy contracted by 0.1%, the Office for National Statistics said, confounding analysts who'd expected to see slight growth. The government has made boosting economic growth a key priority, and Chancellor Rachel Reeves has said the latest figure was disappointing. The ONS says the fall in economic output was mainly driven by a drop in manufacturing, while retail sales were very weak. A hosepipe ban is coming into force in Yorkshire and in Sussex as the third heat wave of the summer grips the country. Despite Yorkshire Water saying it's cut leakage by 15% in recent years, bill payers say they're frustrated at the number of leaks which appear to go unchecked. South East Water said record-breaking demand for drinking water has put significant pressure on supplies. Anyone flouting the restriction could be fined up to £1,000. Well, that comes as health alerts for heat have been upgraded to amber for large parts of England by the UK Health Security Agency. And long-awaited plans to crack down on the misleading tactics and confusing processes used by private parking companies has been launched. The Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government said its consultation on a legislation-backed code of practice for the sector is aimed at creating a fairer, more transparent private parking system. Analysis earlier this week found Britain's drivers were handed a record 14.4 million parking tickets by private companies in the year to the end of March. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more news in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
And here's a snapshot of the markets. The pound will buy you $1.3543 and €1.1588. The price of gold is £2,462.93 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 8,931 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 8 minutes past midday. Now, some breaking news for you. Unite, the union, suspends Angela Rayner and could abandon Labour. Yes, the organisation accuses the Deputy Prime Minister of backing Birmingham Council over the bin strikes.
The union has also announced it will review its relationship with the Labour Party. Remember, it's one of the biggest backers. Sharon Graham, the boss of Unite, says Unite is crystal clear it will call out bad employers regardless of the colour of their rosette. Angela Rayner has had every opportunity to intervene and resolve this dispute, but has insisted backed a rogue council that has peddled lies and smeared its workers, fighting huge pay cuts.
Well, Sharon Graham, the secretary, continues. This disgraceful actions of the government and so-called Labour Council is essentially fire and rehire, and makes a joke of the Employment Relation Act that is promised. People up and down the country are asking whose side is the Labour government on, and coming up with the answer, not the workers.
OK. Well, joining us now is political commentator John Rentoul. John, good to see you, and especially with this breaking story. This is quite an incredible bit of news. I mean, what does it mean for Angela Rayner? What does it mean for the Labour Party?
Well, it's quite a dust-up. You're absolutely right. This Birmingham bin strike has been dragging on for a whole year of Labour government now, and there were a lot of people who were expecting Angela Rayner to sort it out. I mean, it's her responsibility as local government secretary to manage a council like Birmingham, which has been taken over by commissioners. But she's not thrown money at the problem, which I suspect is what Unite expected her to do, and has actually stayed out of it largely, which Unite is very upset about, which I think is a very interesting clash between realistic Labour and utopian Labour.
And this is interesting, given what's going on at the top of the Labour Party, given the approval ratings of the Prime Minister, given whispers about who is really running the government. Speaking to some people in the Labour Party, they're suggesting Angela Rayner is calling many of the shots and perhaps positioning herself for a future leadership bid. I mean, do you think if that were to happen down the line, obviously not imminently, would a decision like this from Unite today help or hinder her?
Well, no, it would hinder her, except that I think, if she can make a good argument, and I haven't, this is a very complicated dispute, and it's very difficult to work out the rights and wrongs of it. It affects quite a small number of people, but some of the pay cuts that the union claims they're being asked to take are huge. And it is interesting that she has not got involved in a war of words with Unite on this. She needs to defend herself, I think. But if she can show that she is being a pragmatic Labour politician, I think that might actually strengthen her position in the Labour Party, because she has a lot of support from the so-called left.
John, we know many Labour MPs are funded or receive funding from unions. I mean, how much are Unite involved in funding Angela Rayner personally and the Labour Party?
I'd have to look up the register of members' interests on that one. I assume that if she's a member of the union, then she will receive sponsorship money from the union as an MP. Although, I mean, she doesn't take that money personally. I mean, it goes on her office. But Unite have been here before. I mean, they have threatened to take their funding away from the Labour Party. I mean, you remember when Len McCluskey was General Secretary, he was a great supporter of Jeremy Corbyn, but he was not a big fan of Jeremy Corbyn's predecessors or successor.
And this, I suppose, will be one of the big issues for the Labour Party. I mean, who does it actually stand for? Is it the political arm of the trade union movement, or is it trying to be something much more in the mould of Tony Blair? But I suppose the risk for the Labour Party currently is it sort of falls between the cracks and doesn't represent either. I mean, is big business going to be donating to the Labour Party to keep it running? And if the trade unions aren't, sort of where is its constituency?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's a very important question. Although Unite is a rather particular union, it has been controlled by a faction that was, well, certainly in Len McCluskey's day, very pro-Corbyn and therefore would be anti-Starmer. And yet, you know, it's got an awful lot of members. It has a lot of connections to the Labour Party at the grassroots level. It'd be very difficult for it to disengage. And, you know, I suspect that Sharon Graham won't want to play those sort of games.
OK, well, according to this story or these stats from 2024, more than 200 Labour or suspended Labour MPs received more than £2 million in donations and support from trade unions, including Unite, just before the general election. So it's quite a bit of money here we're talking about, isn't it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Although the party is not as dependent on the trade unions for money as it used to be. I mean, there are a lot of personal donations and I think...
There's always Lord Ali.
For your glasses.
There's always Lord Ali. But no, I mean, but also Unite is, you know, although it is a large trade union and it is responsible for a lot of money, there are a lot of other trade unions and then they are not so likely to take their bats home.
Is this an interesting thing to happen at the moment at which Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn are mooting to found a new party of the left that could launch as soon as sort of party conference season, September, October? I mean, it would be a pretty big coup were Unite to disaffiliate from the Labour Party and affiliate to a more radical left-wing party, splitting the left. I mean, is it a coincidence that this is happening just a week after the announcement from both Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana?
I think it is a coincidence, actually, yes. But, I mean, it's just because Unite has got some kind of conference on at the moment, so they had a vote. And you know, Unite delegates being sort of politically motivated creatures are going to be quite animated about this Birmingham dispute and annoyed with the way that Angela Rayner's handling it. If Unite does disaffiliate from Labour and support the Zara Sultana Jeremy Corbyn outfit, that would be a huge development because, as you say, they've got a lot of money, but it would be quite a move for a union that is so broad based. And has so many members in so many sectors of the economy.
John, just very quickly, it's going some, and we've had 1 year of Labour. We've done a lot of conversations about the anniversary of 1 year of this government. It is going some for a Labour government to have alienated not just Unite, but most of the unions within 12 months. I mean, they are traditionally the party of the left, the party of trade unions, and they've managed to alienate pretty much everyone from Unite to the BMA.
No, I don't. Well, the BMA is not a Labour-affiliated union. The BMA is actually one of the worst trade unions in the country.
It's still a union, though. It's still a trade union.
It's still a trade union, but it's not a Labour-affiliated trade union. And Unite is a special creature. I mean, its executive is in the hands of a cabal of rather unrepresentative political people who are Jeremy Corbyn supporters. So, but the broad Labour movement, the broad trade union movement, is actually very supportive of Angela Rayner and her employment rights bill. I mean, mistakenly, in my view, because I think it heaps costs on business that are unnecessary. But at
least there's a lot of economic growth around to be able to afford it all. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. But they like all that stuff, and I think the broad trade union movement will stick with Labour.
Right, OK, well, John Rentoul, thanks indeed for joining us, Chief Political Commentator at The Independent.
On those Birmingham strikes in April, Angela Rayner said this dispute is causing misery and disruption to residents and the backlog must be dealt with quickly. There is a significantly improved offer on the table for the workers and I'm urging Unite to suspend their action and to accept that offer. GB News has approached her office for comment with a spokesperson for Number 10 saying, our priorities are Birmingham residents.
Well, that was that. But let's return now to more international affairs. Yes, the Prime Minister has secured a one-in, one-out migrant deal with France in the latest effort to reduce small boat crossings.
Yes. The scheme still needs the approval of the European Commission and President Macron took direct aim at Brexit yesterday, blaming Brexit lies for the small boats crisis. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper hopes this will solve the crisis.
The whole purpose of what we're doing is to bring down these dangerous boat crossings because we think no one should be making those boat crossings. What we did say, what the Prime Minister said yesterday, is there's no single silver bullet, whether it's about this new returns agreement, which frankly I think is the right thing to do, or any of the other measures that we're talking about. We've seen 6 years of people claiming that one single thing, particularly the previous government claiming one single thing, or opposition parties claiming one single thing is going to solve it. What we need is a comprehensive approach.
Well, that deal has been done, but what is in it? Yes, a pilot programme for a one-in, one-out small boat migrant deal. The Prime Minister says it will break the model of the people smugglers, and President Macron agrees. The idea is relatively simple at first, that small boat migrants will be sent back to France and in their place, legitimate and security-vetted refugees with links to Britain will come instead via a new safe route. Now, if it's fully implemented, this could easily see how this would indeed stop those boats. Anyone coming on a boat could be sent back to France, and the only people accepted would be those who did not get on a boat. But oh, if it only were so simple. There's a catch. Yes, reports suggest that only 50 migrants could be sent each way per week. Now, with 850 making the journey last week, that's just 1 in 17 who would be sent back. Less than a 6% chance of being returned. It's not hard to see how small boat migrants would take that over 94% chance of success. And there's more. Confusion still reigns over which small boat migrants will be the ones who are actually returned to France. How will they be chosen? Government sources suggest that even if the 17 in and 1 out ratio were to be ramped up over time, if this pilot were to be extended, well, there could still be illegal small boat migrants that Britain accepts, despite arriving by small boat. What kind of incentive or disincentive is that? And there's a final catch. Yes, this deal all requires the legal verification of the European Commission and EU member states. That's because France is an EU member, unlike the UK, so it can't agree this kind of deal independently, by itself. It has to achieve the blessing of the EU institutions and other EU member states.
President Macron says Britain was sold a lie, blaming Brexit for the Channel migrant crisis. We'll ask, is Brexit really to blame?
Well, we're going to be discussing all of that after the break, but much to sort of get stuck into there. And while we mull it over, there's still time to grab our biggest cash prize
What
to
is
date.
it? Let me see. You must be aware of this now. It's 54321, £54,321. And here's all the details you need for your chance to make it yours.
You have the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax, and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For another chance to win win £54,321 cash. Text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
My eye this morning, because I say it all the time. You can't say gents at work. You're deemed to be not inclusive.
It's not inclusive. This comes from a tribunal which took place where a woman took umbrage at one of her bosses using the term in an email, dear gents. Well, you can't use the word gent. I mean, I wonder what it's like when you go to the gents now, whether you have to say going to the non-gender specific lavatories. It's a phrase. It shows that you're a bit old, they say, using the word gents. Now, I mean, I don't regard myself as old, although some may disagree with that.
This caught my eye as well, because one of your lovely presenters, who's on, I believe, at 6 o'clock, Michelle Dewberry, she very often says, you know, thank you, gents. I don't think she's
polite.
I don't think she's going to be changing. But it's when you look into this story, there is a little bit more to this than meets the eye, because this email was sent round by management in this insurance company, and one of the ladies who was on a list to be made redundant, along with men, used that email as evidence as to why there was discrimination going on. So there was a little bit more to this, and what the court said was that, you know, this was clumsy language, but this was managerial incompetence. And I don't think we should in any way take that as meaning it's got any wider.
So hang on, the court even said it's clumsy language?
The court said it was clumsy language.
I
mean, they shouldn't be using that language, but what I'm saying is I don't think this means that we have to all change our behaviour because of this one.
But what next, Anna?
Decision.
I've noticed a trend among, particularly among younger people, to call people guys, even women.
Yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 25 minutes past 12. Now, in a moment, we're going to be debating exactly whether the French president
Macron
had a point in saying that the British public were sold lies when they were told that Brexit would protect the borders.
Well, first off, I think he's got a cheek.
Yeah?
Don't you? Can we have a listen to what he said? What did he actually say? Go on, let's have a listen.
I know it's not your case, Prime Minister, but many people in your country explained that Brexit would make it possible to fight more effectively against illegal immigration. But it's in fact since Brexit that UK has no migratory agreement with the EU. In fact, it creates an incentive to make the crossing the precise opposite what the Brexiters promised.
Well, the Reform Party leader didn't take too kindly to that. Let's hear what Nigel Farage said in response.
Is Brexit Britain? We voted to take back control of our borders, not to accept a deal given to us by a French president. But I think what we're facing here is a national security emergency. Australia stopped it by towing the boats back to Indonesia. We will stop it by leaving the ECHR, by getting the right to deport. That will work. If it doesn't, in the end, we'll take the boats back to France.
OK, you know, before we start this debate, because it's a great debate, right, I just want to read one comment out. Remember, keep them coming in, gbnews.com/. This is from Ron, and Ron, you're summing up what everyone is saying. We don't want one in, one out. We want none in and illegals out. And lots of you are agreeing with that.
Well, let's get to this debate. Is Brexit to blame for migrant crossings? Well, delighted to be joined by the former Lib Dem Minister Norman Baker and the Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control, Rob Bates. OK, Norman, let's start with you. Why is Brexit to blame?
Let's look at the figures. In 2014, when I was at the Home Office, 9 people arrived only across the Channel in boats. In 2018, as we were leaving the EU, the figure was 299. This year, it's likely to be 40,000. So clearly there is a link there between Brexit and the numbers of boats. I also want to quote to you the shadow Home Secretary, the Conservative Home Secretary, Chris Philp, who admitted in a 2018 recording that returning migrants to the EU would become significantly harder after the UK left the EU. That was from Chris Philp.
Yeah, who voted Remain. Norman, you'll accept, though, won't you, that when you were in the Home Office, there was a significant problem of people coming across on lorries. And millions upon millions of pounds were invested to try and stop that.
Yes, indeed, but it wasn't 40,000 as it's going to be with boats. And one other point just to make here before you bring in my colleague over here is that when we were in the EU, we had access to the EU's asylum fingerprint database. And what that meant was if somebody arrived in the UK and they claimed asylum had been fingerprinted in the EU, we were able to access that and return people under the Dublin Agreement to European Union countries. Because you left the EU, we don't have access to that database anymore. And what's happening now is that people are claiming asylum in the EU, they're being refused, but then they're coming to the UK because the UK doesn't know they've been refused in the EU. That's what's happening.
OK, Rob, what do you say to that?
So first of all, whilst we were still within the EU and in that transition period, we saw those small boats crossings reach 10,000. It increased 8-fold after we'd actually voted to leave the EU, but we're still within the parameters of the European Union. When it comes to the Dublin Agreement, which we're often told was us leaving it is the cause for the small boats crisis. Actually, what you see is that we returned a very small number of individuals. I think in 2018 we returned just over 200, and in return we had to accept 1,200 from the continent. So that's a 6 in, 1 out policy, which again, you know, is something that maybe Keir Starmer would be thinking of adopting. That's probably a good level for him to be aiming for. But the idea that we were sort of be able to return vast numbers of individuals that are coming to the UK legally from Europe just simply does not play out from the statistics. I mean, if we were to re-enter now the European Union and to get dragged into their asylum and migration pact, what we'd actually see as well, because of the solidarity clauses, that we'd be having to take a lot more of the pressure that those countries on the frontier in Eastern Europe and Southern Europe are facing, and we'd see those richer countries, which would include us, having to take a far larger number of asylum seekers.
Norman, why, if it is a Brexit problem, why are Germany, France, Belgium, to name but a few, having such a problem with migrants as well?
Well, look, there's a huge problem with migration generally across the world, and what that is partly down to, at least or mainly down to, is the instability in many countries like Afghanistan or Syria or Eritrea.
So and nothing to do with Brexit,
The predominant number of people coming in on boats actually comes from war zones and areas where there are deep instability within those governments. And of course, it's worth pointing out the French, for example, take far more number of asylum seekers than we do in this country. So there's a major problem with migration generally, which is up across the world.
Rob, what do you say to the idea that boats weren't the main mode of transport that illegal migrants took until around the time that we left the European Union? Is that just a coincidence?
Well, no, they weren't. But as Macron said in the press conference yesterday, that is also because, of course, those main routes, the lorries and the rail networks, had seen a lot of work to actually clamp down on them. So the flows themselves have probably actually been very negligible. And as I said, we did actually see that this small boats crisis did spring up whilst we were still under the jurisdiction of European Union rules. The problem we have got in the UK is we don't really need to get entangled into these kind of deals with the Europeans. It's something that British politicians actually, if they properly put their mind to it, could solve themselves. I mean, you could actually argue, really, the reason why we are having this crisis is because we didn't Brexit enough. And that deal that Boris Johnson put forward kept us within the ECHR and kept the Human Rights Act, therefore, as part of the statute book. And as we know, there's an endless list of cases with asylum seekers that we have not been able to remove because of spurious claims. So actually, you could argue that it's the lack of political will from politicians to properly put in place a legislative framework that would allow us to remove individuals either to countries of origin or to third countries such as Rwanda that is the real problem here.
Norman, we needed a harder Brexit and Rwanda.
Well, look, I mean, the fact of the matter is that the number of people coming on lorries was fewer than now coming on boats, so there's not an equality there. Secondly, we had the Dublin Agreement to return people. We didn't return enough under the agreement, I concede that point, but we could have returned more, and we should have returned more, and we could return them now if we had that agreement in place. And we've lost the ability to access the EU fingerprint database, which would enable us to return people who've already claimed and failed on asylum claims in Europe. Those things are a direct consequence of Brexit. It's deeply ironic that someone like Nigel Farage, who campaigned very strongly for Brexit on the basis it would close our borders, has actually opened the borders to people coming in that wouldn't be coming in otherwise.
And a final word to you, Rob Bates.
Well, look, only 4% of those applications we put in to return migrants back to Europe under the Dublin Agreement were actually approved in 2018. So they were refusing a very large number of our actual requests. We don't need to have anything to do with Europe. We just need to put in place a Rwanda scheme, a strong deterrent, and we will see those pull factors greatly diminished in the eyes of those looking to make the crossings.
OK, Norman and Rob, thank you very much. That's former Lib Dem Minister Norman Baker and Research Director for Central Migration Control, Rob Bates. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Plenty more to come on today's programme.
Yes, with a hostage ban coming into force in your hosepipe ban. I've got hostage on the brain now. Sausages? With a hosepipe ban, hosepipe ban coming into force in Yorkshire today. Will more regions be next? But first, let's get the news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Good afternoon. The headlines at 12:30 from the GB newsroom. 2 women have died after a BMW that was being chased by police crashed into their care home on Wednesday. That coming from Northumbria Police. More on that as we get it. The Home Secretary says the new one-in, one-out migrant scheme agreed with France is robust enough to withstand potential legal challenges. Elsewhere, the government is urging GPs to issue fewer sick notes and instead direct patients towards gyms and support services to help more people to return to work. The UK economy shrank unexpectedly in May, contracting for the second month in a row. The Office for National Statistics said the economy contracted by 0.1%. Angela Rayner has been suspended by the Unite Union over the recent Birmingham bin strikes. The union has also announced it'll review its relationship with the Labour Party. And a hosepipe ban is coming into force in Yorkshire and Sussex as the third heatwave of the summer grips the country. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hi there, and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's going to be a hot one today for many of us, with sunny skies widely across the UK. A little bit cooler on the east coast, a few mist patches. With high pressure sitting in the North Sea, we've got an east to southeasterly airflow across the country. That's why the heat is more distributed towards the west and the north of the country, but actually, for the vast majority, it's simply a sunny day, and it will continue to be so. 1 or 2 mist patches lurking off the coast of Northern Ireland, eastern Scotland, eastern England, but these really will be restricted to just a few coastal areas. Inland, it's clear blue skies and rising temperatures, widely the mid to high 20s, and for much of England and East Wales, we're talking about the low 30s. And we end the day pretty warm across Scotland. Again, a few mist patches here and there around coastal parts, but inland, plenty of sunshine as we head into the evening. And even at this stage, Glasgow still 27 Celsius. Northern Ireland still temperatures hovering around the mid-20s and 31, 32 Celsius even at 6 p.m. across some parts of the West Midlands, central southern England, East Wales. That, of course, will lead on to a very warm night in many spots, with temperatures in the west particularly high. In fact, some western hills and coasts could see temperatures stay at 20, 21 Celsius through the night. In the east, we will see some mist and low cloud creep into coastal parts. This will be patchy again, but it will be around first thing Saturday. So actually a cloudier start for the North Sea coast, and we've got that onshore breeze. So eastern coasts of England and Scotland will be kept cooler through Saturday, but elsewhere across the UK, it's perhaps the peak of the heat, with temperatures reaching 33 or 34 Celsius in the West Midlands and East Wales.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. Drivers on the A9 southbound near Dalwhinnie anticipate delays due to a broken down vehicle. The M4 eastbound between Tredegar Park and Coldra experiences congestion. In Cumbria, heavy traffic on the A66 westbound causes delays. A vehicle breakdown in Stockton-on-Tees on the A19 southbound closes one lane. Derbyshire's A50 westbound faces congestion between junctions. In Somerset, an accident on the M5 southbound closes one lane. And on the trains, expect disruptions between Taunton and Bristol Temple Meads on cross-country services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 38 minutes past midday.
Yes, and you knew this was coming. Come on, you've had 2 days of hot weather. What follows? Yeah, a hosepipe ban. It's affecting more than 5 million people, and that's from today, and Yorkshire is the first place to enforce a ban this year, with Yorkshire Water saying the region had experienced its driest and warmest spring on record.
Well, let's head straight to Yorkshire now and speak to our reporter, Steve Bennett. Steve, what's the situation?
That's right, it is extremely hot here in Yorkshire, I can confirm that, and there is the first hosepipe ban of 2025. It's come into effect as all the reservoirs, like the one behind me, Booth Wood, which is right behind me, are lower by 50% compared to last year, following the hottest June that we've had, the hottest spring, the driest spring that we've had on record. Now, earlier on, I popped in to the local village here, Wimbledon, to speak to Nicola to hear exactly how she's coping with not just the hosepipe ban, but also the heat.
I received a letter yesterday to advise me that the hosepipe ban didn't apply to me at all, and that I was not to worry about it and to carry on as normal.
And you said that, unfortunately, you suffered an injury recently, so it's a relief for you to be able to get outside.
I had a bad fall down the stairs, so at home, and I've got 4 fractures in my lower spine and 2 in my vertebrae. So really, this is the first time I've actually been able to come outside.
So to sit outside for you must be great today.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And the weather, when it's cold, aggravates the fractures, but when it's sunshine, I don't have the pain, so it's good to get out in the sun.
Yeah, Nicola there telling us how she's coping, how she's actually exempt from the hosepipe ban, like many people are. If you are concerned whether it applies to you, then get yourself to the Yorkshire Water website. All the information is on there, what the rules are, what the fines are, £1,000 if you flaunt the rules, and exactly who is exempt, because as you know, we're in the middle of a 3rd official heat wave, just as this hosepipe ban is coming in. Back to you guys in the studio.
Steve, thank you very much. That's our GB News reporter, Steve Bennett, there in Yorkshire, where they've got a hosepipe ban. Congratulations, everybody. Way to go.
I don't think it's rocket science why there's a hosepipe ban. You know, the last time we built a reservoir in this entire country...
Before you were born, wasn't it?
Before I was born. It was 1992.
Yeah, I know.
The last time we built a reservoir was 1992. Yeah. And since then, the population of the country has grown by 12 million people. We expect to use the same amount of water that we had in 1992 for a population that is 12 million people larger. Go figure.
Be fair, Tom. All those people running the water companies need their bonuses. I think you're being very greedy, expecting a water company to supply
Dawn, I'm going to make myself really unpopular now.
Go on.
Because I'm going to back the water companies Thames Water has been trying to build a reservoir since 2004 in Oxfordshire. It's called Abingdon Reservoir. They have launched application after application after application, and the local council keeps saying no. You can't build that reservoir. Despite the fact that you own the land, and despite the fact that it's just a hole in the ground, our planning system has prevented them from building another reservoir. And that's happened time and time again. Different companies have tried to build these reservoirs, but local communities have said, no, we don't want to, despite the fact that reservoirs are lovely.
See, you've turned this round, right, OK, onto the people that live in the area complaining they don't want to... No,
to the politicians.
The politicians listening to the people in the local area saying, no, we don't want this in our area by the sounds of it.
Not listening to all the people in the local area, listening to a tiny number of people... Who, for some reason, don't want to live near a reservoir. I can tell you, reservoirs are lovely, full of biodiversity. You can go sailing on them. You can go canoeing.
Do you live near a reservoir?
I used to live not too far from a reservoir when I was growing up. I used to go sailing on it. It was beautiful, and they're lovely things. They're lovely things. We should have many, many more of them. And the fact that we haven't built one since 1992, mainly due to local politicians stopping it, is an absolute disgrace.
No, it is appalling. But there's a very interesting point in Steve's, which I didn't know until this morning, that hosepipe bans do not apply if you're a blue badge holder. And I think if you are worried about that, please do check on the website as to whether you qualify or not and what the conditions are. And hosepipe bans also, I didn't know this either, it depends on how long your hose is.
What?
I don't know. I mean, I thought
Dawn, this is a family programme.
I didn't go there. You did. I'm saying it does depend. What, have you got a very small hose?
Wait, is it if you have a large hose or a small hose? Are you allowed it if you have a large hose, or are you allowed it if you have a small hose?
Have you got a very small hose?
I'm asking for a friend.
If you've got a very small hose, evidently, it doesn't actually qualify. I don't know. Look it up. Honestly, it is a thing that a hosepipe ban, you need to have a hose of a certain size. I'm not making this up.
It is all ridiculous, isn't it? It's ridiculous that we have a difference in terms of who's allowed to use water and who isn't, depending on how long their blooming hose is. But also, the fact that we're having this discussion at all. I mean, the fact that we live in a supposedly first world country and we're rationing water because it's the summer. I mean, we could have more reservoirs, we could have more bountiful water supply, and yet we've made the choice over the last 35 years to not do that.
Yeah, and the other thing with the water companies, right, OK, reservoirs are beautiful things, but they are also meant to take the wastewater away. And they do, but they put it in your rivers and your seas. What are they doing with all that money? Or they're giving it to their people running them.
We could put it in the English Channel, might stop the boats.
I'm not going to... There was so much I could say to that, but it is, as we've discussed, before the watershed, so I'm not going there. Anyways, what do you think? gbnews.com/your say.
Perhaps you'd like to travel to somewhere that doesn't have a hosepipe ban.
Exactly.
That has built a reservoir in the last 35 years.
That also has very, very lovely weather. And here is the forecast for those European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Whilst the UK will experience Mediterranean-like temperatures on Saturday, it's not going to be quite as hot through the Mediterranean as it has been recently. For the Canaries and for Madeira, fairly typical conditions of the time of year. Breezy, partly cloudy, otherwise fine. But we've got this area of thunderstorms developing across northern Spain, the Pyrenees, Andorra, southern France. They could be quite lively. And for Italy, for Greece, sunny spells. Not quite as hot, but it is going to heat up into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Oh, hello. Yeah, this is Good Afternoon Britain. On GB News, there's loads more coming up on today's show.
Yes, we're going to have all the details of the men's semi-finals of Wimbledon today. Very exciting stuff. Catch you with it there after the break.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens. Opinion and debate. And of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 48 minutes past midday, and a lot of you have been getting in touch around a lot of the things that we've been discussing so seriously today.
Hose pipes. I mean, there is a water ban in Yorkshire. I mean, come on, you knew that was happening, didn't you? There will be thunderstorms before you know it, but there'll still be a hose pipe ban. And this is Shutty said, I heard of a man using his hose pipe to siphon his bath water to water his plants. Huh? They charged him because the law stated you cannot use a hose pipe and not where the water came from. The magistrates, though, saw sense and actually threw the case out.
Oh, thank goodness.
But this is just ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, it is about common sense, and we do need... But Lisa says Tommy's right. Yeah, Lisa, once every so often has to be a thing, doesn't it? Tommy's right. We do need more reservoirs in this country. Yeah. If hot summers are becoming more frequent, we need to be able to capture our rainwater. Well, that's a common sense point. Of course it is. But, I mean, that's been going on since the 90s, and we haven't had a new reservoir.
I mean, one of the most crazy things about this country is that we sort of see ourselves as a developed country. In so many ways. We think, you know what, we did that, we developed, tick box, don't need to do anything now. And we said that in around the 90s, and we haven't really built any new motorways since then, or any new reservoirs since then, or much new housing. And yet we've grown the population by 12 million people.
Well, exactly,
and there's just this complete cognitive dissonance in terms of what we need to do to even maintain our level as a developed country.
Someone else has come in with a good point. It's like our reservoirs, water price, if we had to build more reservoirs, the cost of our water will go up. And yeah, actually, a good point. Just stop the leaks, which are costing how much?
I think it's more. It's
2 billion litres a day.
It's definitely more costly to try and stop Victorian pipes from leaking than it is to dig a hole in the ground.
I agree, but we need to invest more in it. But we need to start doing that, as you pointed out a good while ago. However, it doesn't stop people wanting to come here, does it?
Certainly doesn't. And one of the reasons people want to come here, perhaps, is to watch our marvellous sporting events. And today is just one such occasion.
That's probably the weirdest link you've ever done.
Maybe, but it worked. It's the men's semi-finals day at Wimbledon, and centre court is set for a showdown.
Yeah, defending champion Carlos Alcaraz faces Taylor Fritz before Jannik Sinner takes on Novak Djokovic in a clash of the titans.
Well, we're joined by podcast host of Rock and Roll Tennis, Keith Fraser. Keith, thanks for joining us. Today, a big day on the court.
It's huge. I mean, obviously, it's semi-finals day. It's the business end of the tournament. It's been a funny tournament to date. A lot of top seeds going out early. But really, the real elite players have made it to the semis. Alcaraz, number one. Well, he's not number one. He's won this tournament 2 times the last 2 years. Jannik Sinner, number one in the world, never won this tournament, is playing, of course, Djokovic in one semi. And Carlos Alcaraz is playing Taylor Fritz. Taylor Fritz is a man in form on grass as well. He's won his second Eastbourne title a few weeks ago, so he likes the grass. It's going to be very interesting, these 2 semis. Novak Djokovic, what can you say about him? Djokovic is the man who wants to break records. This guy's imperious. He's 38 years old. He hasn't had a very good year, but people said that last year. And what did he do last year? He won the Olympic gold, the one thing he hadn't won. Now, I think that he wants to stay the course until he gets the all-time Grand Slam tournament record of 25. He's on 24 at the moment. He's got a big ask today. He's lost the last, I think, 4 times to his opponent, Jannik Sinner. So two close matchups. I think the first semi, Fritz and Alcaraz, is probably going to be a less difficult for Alcaraz, I would say. This guy who Pat Cash has said already is one of the greatest ever players on grass. So you'd have to go for Alcaraz to win the first semi. Second semi, well, Sinner's number one, but Djokovic, you can't write him off.
Alcaraz is still, 23 years old, is he? I mean, he's still very young, isn't he?
He's unbelievable. I think he's 22 or 23 years old. Sinner, I think, is 23, 24. They're both very young. They're going to be battling it out for years to come in the slams. They are the 2 elite players. Of the 2, obviously Sinner's had some off-court problems with some drugs allegations. He's recently had a 3-month ban from the sport, but he claims his innocence, and obviously innocent till proven guilty. He served a punishment, and he's now in the Wimbledon semi. He's lost twice, by the way, on grass at Wimbledon to Djokovic before. But as I said, the last 4 times he's faced Djokovic, he's beaten him, and that was only a few weeks ago on clay against at Roland Garros. But it's going to be very, very interesting afternoon, and I think the one to watch is Sinner and Djokovic, because how important this is for Djokovic. Djokovic wants that 25. Time's running out for him. This is really going to be an interesting afternoon's tennis, guys.
Yeah, so those younger players, they're going to be back every year, aren't they? Whereas Djokovic, how many more will he actually do? Well, Keith Fraser, thanks so much for talking us through what is a mega day of tennis today. Podcast host there of Rock and Roll Tennis.
Rock and Roll Tennis, yeah, absolutely. It's Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Loads more coming up on today's show, so don't you dare go anywhere. Should schools decide what your child eats? All of that coming up after the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's going to be a hot one today for many of us, with sunny skies widely across the UK. A little bit cooler on the east coast, a few mist patches. With high pressure sitting in the North Sea, we've got an east to southeasterly airflow across the country. That's why the heat is more distributed towards the west and the north of the country, but actually for the vast majority it's simply a sunny day, and it will continue to be so. 1 or 2 mist patches lurking off the coast of Northern Ireland, eastern Scotland, eastern England, but these really will be restricted to just a few coastal areas. Inland, it's clear blue skies and rising temperatures, widely the mid to high 20s, and for much of England and East Wales, we're talking about the low 30s. And we end the day pretty warm across Scotland. Again, a few mist patches here and there around coastal parts, but inland, plenty of sunshine as we head into the evening. And even at this stage, Glasgow still 27 Celsius. Northern Ireland still temperatures hovering around the mid-20s, and 31, 32 Celsius, even at 6 p.m. across some parts of the West Midlands, central southern England, East Wales. That, of course, will lead on to a very warm night in many spots, with temperatures in the west particularly high. In fact, some western hills and coasts could see temperatures stay at 20-21 Celsius through the night. In the east, we will see some mist and low cloud creep into coastal parts. This will be patchy again, but it will be around first thing Saturday, so actually a cloudier start for the North Sea coast, and we've got that onshore breeze. So eastern coasts of England and Scotland will be kept cooler through Saturday, but elsewhere across the UK, it's perhaps the peak of the heat, with temperatures reaching 33 or 34 Celsius in the West Midlands and East Wales.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're kick-starting summer with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
On this day, 4 years ago, GB News was born, launching our first live broadcast on June 13th, 2021. Let's take a look back at some of our earlier memories.
If you've just switched on, a very warm welcome to you. I am Alistair Stewart, and until 3 p.m. this afternoon, I'll be keeping you company, along with friends and, I hope, friendly guests. I hope you'd agree that we've had a strong hour of debate and discussion so far, but there's lots more still to come. GB News is all about you, our viewers. Any burning questions or stories that you think we need to cover, no matter how big or small, we really do want to hear from you.
Well, we can now speak with former GB News presenter Alistair Stewart. Alistair, thank you so much for joining me. Thinking back to 4 years ago, what did you think the channel's prospects were? Did you think it would be a success?
I did. Thank you so much for having me on, and a very happy birthday to you, one of the many brilliant faces, as we call it in the trade, presenting programmes, but also to the absolutely wonderful team of technicians that you've got behind you, making sure that this all gets on air very smoothly. And we've not only hung on in there, but we've now got GB News Radio as well. Online, we're huge. We get quite good numbers on viewing, very, very good numbers on listening, well ahead some of the other competitors. I do remember when Murdoch launched Talk, there were quite a few people in the newsroom who were nervous, not because they were so good, but because Murdoch had so much more money than we did. We've seen them off. They're virtually dead in the water now, and we are thriving, celebrating 4 years of triumphal and brilliant journalism.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Friday, the 11th of July. I'm Dawn Neeson, and you are?
Tom Harwood.
Now, some breaking news. In the last hour, Unite Union suspends Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner over the Birmingham bin strikes.
More on that in just a bit. In other news, Keir Starmer's migrant returns deal with France faces a major hurdle, with EU officials and member states already pushing back.
Brexit Britain. We voted to take back control of our borders, not to accept a deal given to us by a French president.
And a furious Nigel Farage hits back as French President Emmanuel Macron blames Brexit lies for Britain's migrant crisis.
And growing concerns that a new definition, a legal definition of Islamophobia could amount to a blasphemy law by the back door and curb free speech. Well, the man behind it, Dominic Grieve, has spoken exclusively to our very own Choppers political podcast.
We will not introduce some blasphemy law to protect religion, whether it's Islam or anything else, by the back door, and nor will it have any impact on the recurrent laws in relation to freedom of expression.
And ta-da, just like that, the first hosepipe ban of the summer is now in force. After England's driest spring in more than a century, Yorkshire is officially in a drought, and anyone caught breaking the rules could face a £1,000 fine.
Elsewhere, a row over school dinners. Yes, a vegetarian primary school is accused of putting children's health at risk. More than 100 parents demand meat is put back on the menu, claiming some children are going hungry and even falling ill.
Your actions. That's what makes you who you are.
And Superman or super woke? The new superhero film is dividing opinion, with some critics outraged over what they call pro-immigrant messaging. Oh.
Well, isn't Superman, hasn't he always been a migrant? Some might say...
I do love you, Tom. Honestly, you come out with the most surreal things. So, yeah, obviously, because he came from space,
He's an illegal alien.
Yeah, but, I mean, he didn't literally get on a dinghy from France, although he might have landed in France and got a dinghy over.
Some sort of meteor from some other... I mean, it's the very definition of an illegal alien.
I think isn't the messaging behind this what makes it woke? It's about, you know, we don't hug hoodies anymore, we hug people that come off the boats, kind of thing.
Yeah, perhaps. Not the biggest story of the day, mind you.
I prefer 28 Years Later, that was good.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, people getting disemboweled is always more fun.
I didn't think it got particularly good reviews.
No, it didn't. It was very good.
But it was fun.
Yeah. Nothing like eating people.
I think sometimes there is a big difference between what the general public view as a good film, as in, like, an enjoyable
good old-fashioned romp,
versus what a critic thinks is a good piece of cinema. I mean, it's sometimes there's a bit of dissonance. We have to shut up and get on in any case. Absolutely. Get your thoughts in. GBNews.com/your say. All to come, and so much more after your latest news headlines with Tatiana.
Tom, thank you. The top stories. The Home Secretary says the new one-in, one-out migrant scheme agreed with France is robust enough to withstand potential legal challenges. Sir Keir Starmer secured the deal in the latest effort to reduce small boats crossing the Channel. The scheme still needs the approval of the European Commission, and French President Macron took direct aim at Brexit yesterday, blaming it for the small boats crisis. The Home Secretary says the one-in, one-out deal, again, is robust enough to stand those challenges. And the Border Force and the RNLI have also been deployed in the Channel this morning as small boats have been spotted trying to come to the UK. The first Border Force boat carrying migrants has arrived at Dover. More vessels out at sea. Yvette Cooper says migrants crossing the Channel will be detained as part of the deal.
The whole purpose of what we're doing is to bring down these dangerous boat crossings, because we think no one should be making those boat crossings. What we did say, what the Prime Minister said yesterday, is there's no single silver bullet, whether it's about this new returns agreement, which frankly I think is the right thing to do, or any of the other measures that we're talking about. We've seen 6 years of people claiming that one single thing, particularly the previous government claiming one single thing, or opposition parties claiming one single thing, is going to solve it. What we need is a comprehensive approach that looks across the board.
Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp said the UK's migrant returns deal with France is a gimmick, which will be no deterrent whatsoever.
Look, I'm afraid this deal is another hopeless gimmick, just like Keir Starmer's pathetic claim a year ago to be smashing the gangs, which has dismally failed because record numbers of illegal immigrants so far this year have crossed the Channel, record ever numbers. This is another gimmick, just like the smash the gangs claim. And the reason for that is that only 50 illegal immigrants per week are going to get sent back to France. And that amounts to only 6% of the illegal arrivals. Now, that means that 94% of illegal arrivals are going to be allowed to stay in the UK.
Private companies are crashing in on billions of pounds in government contracts as researchers attempt to unravel the true cost of the UK's border security. One of the biggest contracts was £1 billion for the provision of maritime security drones. Another private contractor won a £7.7 million tender to provide marquees at migrant processing centres in Kent. Researchers at Open Democracy claim to have identified around £5 billion worth of contracts to provide services aimed at enhancing the UK's border security. The figures add to the cost of the wraparound services for Channel migrants. A National Audit Office report last month put the asylum seeker accommodation bill alone as high as £15 billion over a decade. Angela Rayner has been suspended by the Unite union over the recent Birmingham bin strikes. The union has also announced it'll review its relationship with the Labour Party. Sharon Graham, the boss of Unite, says Unite is crystal clear it will call out bad employers regardless of the colour of their rosette. Angela Rayner has had every opportunity to intervene and resolve the dispute, but has instead backed a rogue council that has peddled lies and smeared its workers fighting huge pay cuts. The government is urging GPs to issue fewer sick notes and instead direct patients towards gyms and support services to help more people to return to work. Under the new pilot programme being trialled across 15 locations, GPs will be given money to employ dedicated teams to help people find a job. It comes as the number of NHS fit notes hit 11 million last year, more than double the figure in 2015. Health Secretary Wes Streeting says the UK's economy could no longer afford to keep writing people off. 2 elderly residents have died after a stolen BMW, which was being pursued by police, crashed into a care home. Highcliffe Care Home in Sunderland had to be evacuated following the serious collision, which caused structural damage as well to the building at around 9:40 on Wednesday evening. This morning, Northumbria Police said sadly 2 care home residents, a woman in her 90s and a woman in her 80s, passed away yesterday. And the UK economy shrank unexpectedly in May, contracting for the second month in a row. The economy contracted by 0.1%, according to the Office for National Statistics, confounding analysts who'd expected to see slight growth. The government has made boosting economic growth a key priority, and Chancellor Rachel Reeves said the latest figure was disappointing. The ONS says the fall in economic output was mainly driven by a drop in manufacturing, while retail sales were also very weak. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more news in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3527 and €1.1588. The price of gold, £2,476.96 per ounce. And the FTSE 100 is currently at 8,942 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 9 minutes past 1. Now, some breaking news from the last hour. Unite the Union suspends Angela Rayner and could abandon the Labour Party.
Accuses Deputy PM of backing Birmingham Council over bin strikes. The union has also announced it will review its relationship with the Labour Party. Sharon Graham, the boss of Unite, says Unite is crystal clear it will call out bad employers regardless of the colour of their rosette. Angela Rayner has had every opportunity to intervene and resolve this dispute, but has instead backed a rogue council that has peddled lies and smeared its workers, fighting for huge pay cuts.
Well, Graham continued, the disgraceful actions of the government and so-called Labour Council is essentially fire and rehire and makes a joke of the Employment Relations Act promises. People up and down the country are asking whose side is the Labour government on, and coming up with the answer, not the workers.
Joining us now is former Labour MP Khalid Mahmood. Khalid, thank you very much for joining us this morning. How damaging is this going to be for Angela Rayner and the Labour Party as a whole?
Well, it's very damaging for the trade union movement and the Labour Party. Unite is a union that I joined over 25 years ago. Actually, no, it's almost 35 years now. that I've joined. It's a great union. It's representing the people, and it's ideal for a union is to work for the terms and conditions of the people it represents against the employers, and to get the best possible deal. Now, we're putting through, the Labour Party is putting through some legislation to support the people at work and the trade unions. But this issue, I think, is just totally out of proportion. I think we need to bang a few heads together to get together and do this deal. Unfortunately, the council has not been able to do a deal because it has commissioners that has been imposed by the Conservative government, and they're having to make decisions which are made by the commissioners and not by the local council. And I think what Angela's got to do now is to get rid of those commissioners and allow Birmingham to get on with this job.
But let's zoom out for a second. Angela Rayner is supposed to be the darling of the trade union movement. When there's the Trade Union Congress every September, she's the one who goes to address them. She's promising to bring forward what she calls the Employment Rights Bill, something that a lot of employers are actually quite afraid of. But she's supposed to be the champion of the trade union movement in the government. And yet the trade union movement has today stuck two fingers up at her and told her to jog on, despite giving her £10,000 at the time of the election.
Well, look, the trade union movement has always supported the Labour Party, and it's not in order to get a soft ride when the Labour Party is in government, but to have proper negotiations and get some terms and conditions for their employees. But the problem here is that nobody's been doing that. The national government hasn't done that. The local government is not able to do it because you've got the commissioners in there imposed by the previous national government to do this. And we've got to get over this. This is just not the way to do business. What we've got to do is get on. I mean, the city is in a very dire strait. You walk past, particularly in this weather, some of the streets, and it's just difficult to walk across. I'm somebody with a low autoimmune system, and I could be at risk of particular catching an infection of something or some sort. So this is not a good position to be in. The council needs to resolve this with the commissioners, and I certainly think the Angela Rayner with the department need to come in and resolve this now. It's gone on for far too long, and we can't carry on like this.
No, absolutely. People in Birmingham are suffering, and again, ordinary voices are not being heard. But Khaled, what does it say about this current Labour Party that they have managed to alienate pretty much most unions in the country, not just Unite?
Well, this is where I think, like, as you've already said, we're bringing in legislation to support the workers. But the real support for the workers is looking at their conditions at a level where they've been negotiated. Unfortunately, that hasn't been forthcoming. It's almost a year now that disputes has gone on, and it's getting worse and worse. We're under a huge heat wave at the moment, as I've said before. And it's not just the bin workers, it's not just their pay and conditions, it's not the negotiations with them, it's the public health that is a big issue. And I think somebody at a national level now has to step up from the department, from Angela Rayner, to resolve this. They either get rid of the commissioners or they allow themselves to be getting involved directly and resolve this situation.
And yet, there are lots of local authorities around the country where I think it's only 3 people who man the bin lorries. In Birmingham, they're insisting it's 4. I think I've got those numbers right. All the council is saying is let's operate more like the more efficient bin services that other councils in the country run. I mean, why is that an unreasonable ask for this union to abide by?
The problem with Birmingham has been over 20 years now. The problem is with our equal pay commitment, where we've made real mistakes. It's already cost us almost up to £1.7 billion, which is huge in terms of what the government's had to pay. And what we need to do is look at that issue and resolve that. It's not about whether you have 3 or 4 people. The other issue that Birmingham's trying to do, which I think we need to look at seriously, is bringing in new, greener lorries to do this. That's going to cost you a huge amount of money as well to do this. So I think we need to get our proportions right. We need to see how we can best serve and save the council's money and put it where it's needed to deliver this.
Well, Khaled Mahmood, former Labour MP, thanks indeed for joining us and talking through that issue there. Pretty extraordinary for the Deputy Prime Minister to be booted out.
It is pretty, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, she is the voice of Labour. She's a genuine working class woman. She's got that background where she's worked with unions all her career and now she's been thrown out. It's pretty shocking, actually. gbnews.com/yoursay. Now, on those Birmingham strikes in April, Angela Rayner has said this dispute is causing misery and disruption to residents, and the backlog must be dealt with quickly. There is a significantly improved offer on the table for the workers, and I'm urging Unite to suspend that action and to accept that offer. GB News has approached her office for comment, with the spokesperson for Number 10 saying our priority are Birmingham residents.
Strange grammar from Number 10 there. Our priority are Birmingham residents.
I expect nothing less these days.
Oh, goodness me. Well, the Prime Minister has secured, in other news, a one-in, one-out migrant deal with France. At least that's how they're spinning it, in the latest effort to reduce small boat crossings.
Yeah, the scheme obviously still needs the approval of the European Commission, and President Macron took a direct aim at Brexit yesterday, blaming Brexit lies for the small boats crisis. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper hopes this will solve the crisis, though.
The whole purpose of what we're doing is to bring down these dangerous boat crossings because we think no one should be making those boat crossings. What we did say, what the Prime Minister said yesterday, is there's no single silver bullet, whether it's about this new returns agreement, which frankly I think is the right thing to do, or any of the other measures that we're talking about. We've seen 6 years of people claiming that one single thing, particularly the previous government claiming one single thing, or opposition parties claiming one single thing, is going to solve it. What we need is a comprehensive approach.
Interestingly, earlier on, she didn't actually say whether this would make any difference to the numbers of boats coming across the channel. But let's have a chat now to a chief political correspondent for The Times, Aubrey Allegretti. Aubrey, thank you so much for joining us today. Well, what do you make of it, where we are now?
Well, I mean, the government's making progress, but I suppose the question is whether or not it's really able to be implemented full stop, given that it is out of the UK's hands. This is something that the European Commission is going to have to sign off, and there are concerns, particularly in Italy, about the sort of backlog of migrants that might sort of be drawn towards staying in Italy instead of travelling through Europe towards the UK. So there are certainly concerns within Europe. And then there are voters' concerns as well. When you think about the numbers at play here, this is going to be an initial trial of around 50 migrants per week returned, a drop in the ocean compared to the 44,000 who've made the crossing to the UK since Labour came to power last year. I mean, you speak to some people and they say, one in, one out. Well, we don't even want one in the first place. This is sort of maybe 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
This is, of course, a strange sort of deal because it's being spun as one in, one out. But, I mean, running the numbers, if 50 are returned each week, and what is it, 850 are coming across at the moment per week, that works out as 17 in, 1 out. It's been much discussed that it's a sort of less than 6% returns rate. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's the biggest deterrent in the world.
No, and I mean, Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, was making the point that it's not going to be a silver bullet, but even that sort of 1 in 17 migrants who would be returned under this deal, if it can be, agreed fully at the sort of top level of the EU, that is still a very small number. And so, with the hot weather continuing through the summer, August is going to be recess when lots of MPs are going to be away in their constituencies, potentially on holiday as well. Sir Keir Starmer probably taking a break. Are we likely to see the numbers continuing to drive up at much the same rate they have been? This is an issue that's not going to go away for the government. We saw Nigel Farage going out on a fishing boat yesterday with lots of journalists talking to them about the migrants that he saw being picked up. You know, this is just going to be an issue that continues to frustrate the government over summer, and voters will be looking at it and feeling like progress, even if there is any, is very intangible and small.
And yet the strange thing is, I mean, if there were a sort of close to 100% returns, 1 in, 1 out deal, that would obviously stop the boats. It wouldn't be worth getting on a boat.
Well,
the government is sort of saying it might ramp this up. Can you see any world in which it becomes closer to 1 in, 1 out than 17 in, 1 out?
Well, that would require then the UK potentially taking many more people in return for the people that it wants to remove in the first place. And there are other issues at play that don't really feel like they've been talked about properly this week. They include trying to sort of reduce some of the incentives that migrants have to come to the UK in the first place. So, for example, making it harder for them to work illegally in the UK. Now, lots of asylum seekers, they might have good skills to use and they might be able to want to contribute to the economy. So actually, working isn't necessarily a bad thing full stop, but they're not allowed to, and so they're sort of languishing around, getting very frustrated. We see that they're being potentially pushed into, unfair, exploitative exploitative conditions when they could be working, good sort of members waiting for their asylum applications to be processed and contributing to HMRC. You have this issue of digital ID cards, whether or not the government could introduce those. It's been rumoured that lots of think tanks are pushing these ideas forward to number 10, but so far we haven't had any confirmation they're going to push ahead with that. So the sort of returns deal feels to be sort of, moving things around the edges rather than dealing head on with some of the bigger problems.
OK, Aubrey, thank you very much indeed for that. That's Aubrey of The Times. Well, what do you think? gbnews.com/you'll say, are you convinced this is going to work? But we do have some good news for people, don't we?
Absolutely.
Because, yes, it is your chance to win that biggest cash prize so far, an incredible £54,321. And here's all the details you need to make it yours.
You have the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax, and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Now, experts are warning that lithium suppliers will not keep up with the demand for electric cars.
Yeah, researchers say domestic lithium production could grow as much by about 10 times what it currently is by 2030, but will still fall short of demand.
So this morning we're asking whether Labour's green car policy is unachievable.
This policy tells you everything you need to know about net zero. This isn't about giving people free choices about the technologies they want to use. This is about saying we're going to have mandatory targets. It's a sad indictment on our country if we've just normalised the government making these fundamental decisions for people's lives. The CEBR has warned that this policy might cost the country, that's rigid targets for battery electric vehicles, known as the ZEV mandate. 80% of all vehicles will have to be electric vehicles by 2030, rising to 100% by 2035. And that policy is expected to cost £400 billion to the UK economy. And of course, car makers as well have warned that this policy is not achievable.
The latest stats say 47% of vehicles sold in Britain are now EVs. We're halfway there after just 2 years of the electric mandate. We've another 5 years to go. It's speeding up. And this charge that lithium, we're going to have a shortage of lithium, is nonsense. What it says is that there may be the consumption of lithium is increasing, so the domestic production will not be sufficient, but there's plenty in the world.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 25 minutes past 1. Now, a school in Sheffield is under fire for apparently putting children's health at risk.
Yeah, Sharrow School only offers pupils vegetarian meals, including onion roll, corn grills and margarita pizzas. Now, more than 100 parents have signed a petition calling for them to put meat back on the menu.
So, should schools be allowed to dictate what children eat? Well, to discuss this is the senior campaigns manager at People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, Kate Werner. I'm so sorry, I don't have your name written down. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to get it in my ear. Well, let's let Olivia Parry, who is a nutritionist. I'm so sorry about that oversight. We're going to start with you, Kate. Kate, what on earth is going on at a school that only provides vegetarian options?
Well, I mean, what on earth is the issue here? Children can easily obtain all the nutrients essential for optimum health from plant-based sources. The school is serving students healthy, nutritious meals that just happen to not have any meat in them. In doing so, pupils are getting healthier meals that are friendlier to the planet and the animals. So, you know, considering we're in the middle of a climate crisis, and one of the key drivers of this is animal agriculture, and we know that the best way to mitigate, individuals can mitigate it, is by going vegan. So essentially, this school should be commended for what is a progressive and necessary move that will only benefit the children who attend, but also the planet and the animals who suffer in their billions on farms.
Olivia, good for the planet, good for the kids. What's not to like?
I disagree. I think children need meat, especially when they're growing up. If they don't, then they're lacking in essential nutrients like iron, zinc, B12. And the reality is a lot of the parents from, looking after these children do not have the wherewithal to supplement their children with these missing nutrients. And I disagree that the menu is healthy. It's pizza, it's corn. Corn is an ultra-processed food with about 10 different ingredients. What's wrong with chicken? What's wrong with beef? What's wrong with eggs? Yes, when you're an adult, if you decide for ethical reasons that meat is not right for you, fair enough. I have clients who are vegan, and I totally respect their views that they do not want to eat meat or animal products. I was a vegan for a while in my youth as well, but from a nutritional standpoint, there is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. But yes, there are essential proteins, amino acids, and essential fats.
And Kate, I suppose it's a lot harder to get a child perhaps to eat a legume when a chicken goujon might be more palatable to a child of a certain age.
Well, things on this menu like corn, chicken nuggets, I would be surprised if, I know that my 7-year-old couldn't tell the difference between a corn nugget and a chicken nugget. And according to recent research, more than half of school-aged children are now meat-free or want to be. And, educators and parents have a responsibility to feed children meals that will set them up for good health. And that can absolutely be done by giving them meat-free meals. There's a highly acclaimed paediatric physician called Benjamin Spock who wrote that children who grow up getting their nutrition from plant foods rather than meats have a tremendous health advantage, and they're less likely to develop weight problems, diabetes, high blood pressure, and some forms of cancer. And we know that obesity is a major issue in primary school age children right now. So why not give them healthier meals that aren't going to lead to these, health disadvantages in later life?
Olivia, you're the nutritionist.
I disagree. I really do. I don't think that processed carbohydrates, lots of sugar, lots of potato, and ultra-processed non-food is a good way to set up your child for success. Type 2 diabetes is such a problem now, and that is caused by the overconsumption of ultra-processed foods and a diet rich in sugar and foods that turn to sugar. So what's
Can I just point out what is not processed about sausages, bacon, many different types of meat products. You know, if you want to talk about processed food, you've only got to look at all of those types of things. They're loaded with saturated fat and many cancer-causing agents.
What's wrong with saturated fat?
What's good about
saturated fat does not cause heart disease. It's the triglycerides that actually contribute. But
the World Health Organization.
Yes, in an ideal world, you'd be having plain chicken and plain beef and seafood and oily fish. This school only gives, or the government recommends that children have oily fish once in 3 weeks, whereas in fact we should be having it 3 times a week. Those foods, those plain foods, are part of a healthy, well-rounded diet which set up children for success in later life. Yes, by all means, once they're an adult, they can make their choice about whether they want to be vegan or vegetarian, but I think teachers should not be encouraging food faddishness.
Okay, to the point on this, I mean, what is the problem with just giving children and their parents a choice? Having a meat dish, a fish dish and a vegetarian/vegan dish?
But they do have a choice. I mean, they have a choice whether to feed their children foods that are going to mitigate the current climate crisis, are in no way going to be detrimental to their health. In fact, will improve their health.
No, at school, on a school menu, what's the problem with having a choice for children in a school menu?
Well, we're adults. We have the responsibility to make healthy choices for our children. And the current school food rules don't even comply with the government's own public health advice, the Eat Well Guide, which says that people generally should eat more pulses and reduce their red and processed meat intake.
Kate, you say that parents have a duty to make choices for their children. I'm sure most parents would probably agree. What if the parents want the children to eat meat?
Well, this is a meal at school. You know, they can provide meals at home, whatever they want to give them.
Many parents can't afford to feed their children at home. Many of them only have 2 meals in a day, if you read the article. And I disagree that cows are actually negatively affecting the planet. What about deforestation from all the avocado and the almond farms being?
That is such, I mean, you really need to read up on, you know, the facts, because deforestation is happening in the Amazon to feed animals on farms in the UK for people to consume. So if you want to talk about mitigating deforestation, let's stop farming animals for food, because they are the number one cause.
We are carnivores, we are omnivores, we are supposed to eat meat. It's unfair on children.
That is so outdated as a nutritionist.
We clearly have different points of view, and I respect your point of view. Why can't you respect my point of view?
I respect your point of view, but I think that you're wrong, and clearly that avocado remark proves that you don't know what you're talking about.
Ladies, we'll have to leave it on avocados. Kate and Olivia, thank you so much for joining us. That Kate Werner and nutritionist Olivia Parry, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, what do you make of that one? gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved.
Yeah, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's loads more coming up on today's show.
Including a father of a grooming gang victim says that police faked an arrest record. Well, we'll have all of the details next, but first, it's your latest news update with Tatiana.
Tom, thank you very much. The headlines at 1:30. The Home Secretary says the new one-in, one-out migrant scheme agreed with France is robust enough to withstand potential legal challenges. The government is urging GPs to issue fewer sick notes and instead direct patients towards gyms and support services to help more people to return to work. The UK economy shrank unexpectedly in May, contracting for the second month in a row. The ONS said the economy contracted by 0.1%. Angela Rayner has been suspended by the Unite Union over the recent Birmingham bin strikes. The union has also announced it will review its relationship with the Labour Party. And a hosepipe ban is in force in Yorkshire and Sussex as the third heatwave of the summer grips the country. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's going to be a hot one today for many of us, with sunny skies widely across the UK, a little bit cooler on the east coast, a few mist patches. With high pressure sitting in the North Sea, we've got an east to southeasterly airflow across the country. That's why the heat is more distributed towards the west and the north of the country, but actually for the vast majority it's simply a sunny day, and it will continue to be so. One or two mist patches lurking off the coast of Northern Ireland, eastern Scotland, eastern England, but these really will be restricted to just a few coastal areas. Inland, it's clear blue skies and rising temperatures, widely the mid to high 20s, and for much of England and East Wales we're talking about the low 30s. And we end the day pretty warm across Scotland. Again, a few mist patches here and there around coastal parts, but inland, plenty of sunshine as we head into the evening. And even at this stage, Glasgow still 27 Celsius. Northern Ireland still temperatures hovering around the mid-20s, and 31, 32 Celsius even at 6 p.m. across some parts of the West Midlands, central southern England, East Wales. That, of course, will lead on to a very warm night in many spots, with temperatures in the west particularly high. In fact, some western hills and coasts could see temperatures stay at 20, 21 Celsius through the night. In the east, we will see some mist and low cloud creep into coastal parts. This will be patchy again, but it will be around first thing Saturday. So actually a cloudier start for the North Sea coast, and we've got that onshore breeze. So eastern coasts of England and Scotland will be kept cooler through Saturday, but elsewhere across the UK, it's perhaps the peak of the heat, with temperatures reaching 33 or 34 Celsius in the West Midlands and East Wales.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A9 southbound at Dalwhinnie is restricted due to a broken down vehicle. Approach with caution. Motorists on the M4 eastbound between Junction 28 Tredegar Park and Junction 24 Coldra should expect congestion. The Essex A12 northbound between Junction 14 and 15 is affected by a traffic incident, causing 10-minute delays. In Stockport, the M60 clockwise between Junction 1 and 2 has a lane closure due to a collision. And on the trains, services including cross-country between Taunton and Bristol Temple Meads and the Elizabeth line between Slough and Reading are disrupted. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 38 minutes past 1. Now, police officers incorrectly produced a custody sheet for an arrest that never actually happened. That's according to the father of a grooming gang victim.
Jack, not his real name, said that he was arrested twice in 2005 when trying to rescue his daughter from an abuse den in Rotherham. But a police custody record seen by GB News lists his address as a property that he did not live at until 2010.
Well, Jack exclusively spoke to our national reporter Charlie Peters and said that he believes this was an error made by the police as they retrospectively produced the custody sheet.
Charlie, thank you for coming in and explaining this. You have made this story your own. It's an incredible story. You've done an incredible amount of work. This sounds quite complicated. Explain exactly what's going on here.
So in 2005, Jack's daughter, Elizabeth, also not her real name, was being held in an abuse den for 10 weeks by gangs of men who were exploiting her. She'd been brought in there by a woman called Shafina Ali, a white woman who'd converted to Islam and essentially operated as the source of her exploitation, groomed her and then allowed her to be exploited by these men. Jack knew about this, and like many of the parents in Rotherham, he was doing all he could to free her. In this appalling scandal, so many parents have been blamed for their children's abuse. We've heard that they've come from broken homes or they were in care. It's not true of Elizabeth. Jack and Elizabeth's mother did everything they possibly could, like thousands of other parents. But unfortunately, according to them, the system let them down. So on one occasion, when he was trying to free Elizabeth from that flat, Jack says he was arrested twice. The first time, they de-arrested him at a nearby estate where he lived and said, don't go back. But of course he did, because it's his daughter. The second time, they say he was arrested again, this time because he was more irate. And we have seen a note from solicitors operating for South Yorkshire Police saying that this would have been legal in order to prevent a breach of the peace. Make of that what you will. Now, the complaint was made 10 years later when this scandal was exposed. It was not upheld by the Independent Office for Police Conduct because there wasn't sufficient record of this arrest. But there is a different arrest recorded on a custody sheet for being drunk and disorderly around the same time. However, Jack claims that never happened, and he points to some evidence on that sheet, which is that the address for the property he lived in was only there 5 years later in 2010. I was in Rotherham earlier and I produced this report.
With his daughter Elizabeth being kept in an abuse den for weeks and the police failing to act, Jack took matters into his own hands.
After keeping informing them, it must have been hundreds of times, I just had enough. I went over to the flat, kicking off, swearing outside, shouting that I were coming in flat. Next minute, there were a police car pulled up, 2 police officers, arrested me. They pulled up on the street where I lived, told me I were de-arrested, get in the house and don't go back to the flat. So I did, I went back in the house, but by then, things were going round in my head, I'd lost it, kicking doors, shouting. I noticed, as I turned round, that there's a police van there, 2 men and a woman, put cuffs on me, said I were arrested, took me down to the police station.
But Jack says he was never booked in at the station. Instead, they held him there for a few hours before releasing him and telling him not to go back. This was 2005. Years later, when the Rotherham grooming gang scandal was exposed, Jack and his daughter made complaints about the incident to the Independent Office for Police Conduct. But when his complaint was dismissed, the police force's lawyers released a custody sheet alleging that he was arrested in 2005 for being drunk and disorderly at a different location. Jack claims that this account is false and that the custody sheet contains several errors.
They've got me down at an address I didn't live at until 5 years later, which had been 2010. They've also got me down at age 58. Well, I'm only in my early 60s now, so that'd have made this all happened 4 years ago, when in actual fact, date on this sheet is 2005.
Have you ever been arrested for being drunk and disorderly?
I was arrested once, day before my 18th birthday, for underage drinking.
But not in the 21st century?
No. No, it weren't, no.
What's your explanation for why this has happened then?
It's to stop me proving that I was arrested twice.
Jack now believes that the custody sheet was written retrospectively to cover up his arrests outside the abuse den. If it was written in 2005, the force would not have recorded his address from 2010.
Why do you think they arrested you in 2005 instead of rescuing your daughter?
Because they didn't want it to go public. As we all know about Rotherham, not just Rotherham, everywhere. Right? We were told we was the only family going through this. We've reported it over 200 times, right, over months. We were told, well, it's you and your wife's bad parenting, because it's only happening to you. If these police officers are still in police force now, obviously they've moved up to higher positions and they're lying and making things up to cover what they've done. And it's wrong. As far as I'm concerned, they're in the same bed as the perpetrators, because that's what they are. They're still aiding and abetting these people after 25 years.
This family is still waiting for justice, but now they fear that it might never be delivered. Charlie Peters, GB News, Rotherham.
Well, these allegations have sparked a quite fierce political reaction already. We've heard from the Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp calling this a disgrace, and also the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has told GB News it's almost like it's getting worse. However bad we thought the grooming gang scandal was, it just got worse. This new evidence, he says, shows that Rotherham must be part of this upcoming national inquiry. People in Rotherham familiar with Jack's case have also spoken to me. Jane Senior, the Rotherham whistleblower who exposed the scandal over a decade ago, said this is another example of how the police failed in their duty to protect our children and listened to parents when they cried out for help. She said, I would expect an immediate investigation into how this happened and who appears to have falsified that document to be held to account. Well, we have had a response from the Independent Office for Police Conduct. A spokesperson told us that in June we received a voluntary complaint referral from South Yorkshire Police, which included an allegation relating to concerns regarding a custody record of a family member. After assessing the matter, we decided that this complaint should be returned to the force for South Yorkshire Police to deal with the complaint as it deems reasonable and proportionate, noting that the allegation was similar to a previous complaint made by the complainant that had already been through the complaints process. And of course, the complainant has been notified of their decision. On that line there, very quickly, Dawn and Tom, you heard them say that this was similar to a previous complaint because Jack and Elizabeth did raise concerns, of course, with the IOPC, which formed part of Operation Linden. It took 7 years, that IOPC investigation. It investigated dozens of officers. 5 were found to be at fault. The harshest punishment given was a final written warning. Some of the examples of failure in that report are unbearable. The complaint about the arrest outside the den was not upheld due to a lack of evidence and insufficient understanding of the situation. However, in that statement you've heard there from the IOPC, they say the allegation was similar to a previous complaint made by the complainant. I don't think that's the case. I think what's being raised here is about a custody sheet about an arrest being wrong. It's quite separate from what's being said there. But either way, we have also had a statement from South Yorkshire Police, a spokesperson there saying that a complaint relating to a custody log was made to South Yorkshire Police, and we voluntarily referred this to the IOPC. As you've just heard, they've reviewed that and subsequently determined that this is a matter for SYP to manage. Now, they've said today, this morning, we have since determined that the matter should be investigated, and that investigation is now underway. And again, of course, the complainant has been notified of our decision to investigate. So, Dawn and Tom, this is the situation we're in now. Jack thinks that a document was falsified. The address is wrong. It's 5 years out of date. He thinks South Yorkshire Police is to blame for some degree. But South Yorkshire Police will be investigating their own officers there, their own team. And that's raised some additional concern from the family members and indeed lawyers close to them.
In how many cases have the people who have been accused been asked to investigate themselves? The councils investigating themselves, the police investigating themselves again and again. Charlie Peters, thanks so much for bringing us that story. I know you'll stay on it like a tenacious sort of canine.
Terrier is the word you're looking for.
Sort of canine.
Yes, yeah.
But it does make you wonder how many more Jack and Elizabeths there are out there.
That is so.
Thousands.
People still suffering, not getting the justice they deserve.
Well, shall we have a bit of a pause now before we dive back into all the other stories of the day? Let's check the travel weather.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations forecast.
Whilst the UK will experience Mediterranean-like temperatures on Saturday, it's not going to be quite as hot through the Mediterranean as it has been recently. For the Canaries and for Madeira, fairly typical conditions of the time of year. Breezy, partly cloudy, otherwise fine. But we've got this area of thunderstorms developing across northern Spain, the Pyrenees, Andorra, southern France. They could be quite lively. And for Italy, for Greece, sunny spells, not quite as hot, but it is going to heat up into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations forecast.
Who is he? What's he doing there?
They already know who you are, though.
Don't miss this special reunion. Eamon and Anne together again, only on GB News Breakfast this weekend from 6 a.m.
And is that a gardening tan?
No, it's a cypress tan.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Where Anna Riley, our intrepid reporter, is doing the toughest job in television right now, which is enjoying the sunshine. Anna.
Yes, Tom, it's definitely a tough gig for me today, I'll tell you. I'm on the Bridlington Fun Park ride here. This is the zero gravity ride. This fun park is, off we go. This fun park is right next to the sea. Oh, it goes quite quickly, I'll tell you. And people are out enjoying, enjoying rides like this one. Off we go. It's a great boost for tourism, and we've been speaking to people here in Bridlington about what's so great about the sunshine. Let's have a listen.
We're on holiday. We've been here since last Friday, so we can't complain. It's been beautiful, and we're here till Monday, so we're really looking forward to the hot weather. As you can see, the sunburn.
It's lovely. It really is very nice. It's absolutely gorgeous. We deserve it, definitely.
It's good. We like the warm weather.
Yes, very nice. Loving it. Yes, like
warm enough.
weather.
Woo! Well, this ride is showing no signs of stopping, and neither is the sunshine. We're getting that heat wave at the weekend. Enjoy the weather and enjoy fun rides like this one. Get to Bridlington and get to the fun park. Woo!
Oh my gosh!
Absolute bravo, Anna Riley. What an incredible piece of television. I hope they let you off at some point.
I thought they'd only do it once or twice. Bless her.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Doogie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Let's talk Superman. We have Alex Davis, entertainment editor, Supremo. Superman is woke, evidently.
Supremo. Well, I think it's more the Superman director has gone a bit...
Oh.
He's thrown the entire franchise into a bit of a woke debate. Basically, what's happened is Superman, like so many of the old classic tales, has been given a reboot, and the man behind the camera is called James Gunn. He did the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, you know those? Yeah, so he's got pedigree in this, but ahead of the launch, he did an interview with The Times where he basically came out and said that this adaptation that he's behind is an immigrant story. It's the classic American success story of an immigrant coming to America, proving to be a successful sort of person. I mean, how much more successful can you get than Superman? And obviously that was just sort of created a bit of a debate, not really because against anything immigration-y, but it was more just like, why are you trying to shoehorn a political issue into a reboot of a classic comic book character?
An all-American classic comic book character.
Well, exactly. But like, it's got, the thing is that Superman has got its history is steeped in sort of immigration and him being a refugee. So there's nothing wrong with it, really. But it was just the fact that it just seemed so unnecessary at such a volatile time in the States at the moment with what's going on with the ICE raids and whatnot. So that's where most of the outrage has come. And then his brother came out, who stars in the film, and said, oh, well, if you're upset by my brother's comments about immigration, you're not American. And it's just very much, a lot of people are just like, why can't we just have a Hollywood film that doesn't need to be steeped in politicised things?
He's wearing tights as well. Does that make him trans? Is that not part of the storyline?
Well, yeah, we could have a super them, but no, I'm not too sure on that one. But yes, we've just got Superman and the director causing a bit of a hoo-ha.
Well, goodness me.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Alex Davis there, our
Really
entertainment editor. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up in the next hour, including GPs telling people, well, being told to stop signing people off work. We'll discuss why after this.
warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's going to be a hot one today for many of us, with sunny skies widely across the UK, a little bit cooler on the east coast, a few mist patches. With high pressure sitting in the North Sea, we've got an east to southeasterly airflow across the country. That's why the heat is more distributed towards the west and the north of the country, but actually for the vast majority it's simply a sunny day, and it will continue to be so. One or two mist patches lurking off the coast of Northern Ireland, eastern Scotland, eastern England, but these really will be restricted to just a few coastal areas. Inland, it's clear blue skies and rising temperatures, widely the mid to high 20s, and for much of England and East Wales, we're talking about the low 30s. And we end the day pretty warm across Scotland. Again, a few mist patches here and there around coastal parts, but inland, plenty of sunshine as we head into the evening. And even at this stage, Glasgow still 27 Celsius. Northern Ireland still temperatures hovering around the mid-20s, and 31, 32 Celsius even at 6 p.m. across some parts of the West Midlands, central southern England, East Wales. That, of course, will lead on to a very warm night in many spots, with temperatures in the west particularly high. In fact, some western hills and coasts could see temperatures stay at 20, 21 Celsius through the night. In the east, we will see some mist and low cloud creep into coastal parts. This will be patchy again, but it will be around first thing Saturday. So actually a cloudier start for the North Sea coast, and we've got that onshore breeze. So eastern coasts of England and Scotland will be kept cooler through Saturday, but elsewhere across the UK, it's perhaps the peak of the heat, with temperatures reaching 33 or 34 Celsius in the West Midlands and East Wales.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you Spread the word.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 2 o'clock on Friday, the 11th of July. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Dawn Neeson.
And some breaking news in the last 2 hours. Unite Unions suspends the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner. Her membership has been suspended of that union over the Birmingham bin strikes.
Indeed. And meanwhile, Keir Starmer's Migrant returns deal with France faces a major hurdle, with EU officials and member states already pushing back.
Brexit Britain. We voted to take back control of our borders, not to accept a deal given to us by a French president.
And a furious Nigel Farage hits back as French President Emmanuel Macron blames Brexit lies for Britain's migrant crisis.
Meanwhile, more trouble on the economic front. Britain's economy unexpectedly shrinks for a second month in a row, piling pressure on Rachel Reeves as global uncertainty deepens.
And GPs are being told to stop signing millions off work and instead send patients to job coaches or even the gym. Well, the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, says we can't afford to keep writing people off as a radical new pilot launches across 15 regions.
And yep, you knew it was coming, people. The first hosepipe ban of the year is now in force. After England's dry spring in more than a century, Yorkshire is officially in drought, and anyone caught breaking the rules could face a £1,000 fine.
Reservoir levels are 50% lower than usual as Yorkshire Water bring in the first hosepipe ban of 2025.
And Oasis are in Manchester for the first time in 16 years together, kicking off their Live 25 reunion tour. 80,000 fans will be heading to Heaton Park, and it's set to be a scorcher. Yorkshire is in drought.
Yes.
We are an island.
Yeah.
We're surrounded by water. We also get more than our fair share of rain compared to other countries. Why are we so incompetent to store some of that water when it absolutely chucks it down, so that we can use it when it is drier?
The cunning plan, and a very cunning plan, I'm surprised no one thought of it, would be to build some reservoirs.
Oh, to keep some of that water in the ground?
To hold it, yeah, absolutely.
If only we'd have done that. But, you know, the last time we actually built a reservoir?
You weren't born, I know,
I wasn't born. It was in 1992.
Yeah, absolutely. And we haven't built any since because no one could see that this might be a problem. As we say, you know, the population is growing.
12 million more since
absolutely.
1992.
Less water to go round. And, of course, there are all the directors of the water companies who need paying those huge bonuses we pay them.
I mean, it is extraordinary. In almost every area of life, it's sort of like we decided that we've got just enough infrastructure, thank you, back in the 1990s. And we haven't built sort of any more train lines.
We did try.
We did try, but we still haven't finished.
Wasn't a good idea.
We tried to get one up to Manchester, and it only went to Birmingham, and it won't be finished for another 20 years. But we haven't built any more motorways, not since the 90s, I don't think.
No.
We've built not actually many houses compared to the... I mean, the French have got something like 6 million more houses than we do.
Yeah, well, we're meant to be... Labour said they were building £400,000 a year.
Yeah, and they're not.
And how many have they started building?
In London, the first 3 months of this year in London, 0 houses were being built in half the boroughs. I mean, it's extraordinary. I mean, given this population size growing, but we're just not doing anything. We've sort of rested on our laurels. We were the first country in the world to develop. We were the richest country in the world for 100 years. And we just sort of thought, fine, OK, we don't need to do anything now. But now what do we have? Negative growth, the economy going backwards, counties in drought, roads that are clogged with traffic, railway lines that can't be built, everything's expensive. I think we've rested on our laurels for slightly too long.
But on the upside, Oasis are reunited. Sorry, there's got to be some good news somewhere.
Yeah, no, the light and the shade here on Good Afternoon, Ben.
If you want to have a rant like Tom, I mean, please do. It's very easy to get in touch at gbnews.com/your say and have your say as well. Before we get more of Tom ranting, you're welcome. Let's get the news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Good afternoon. The top stories at 4 minutes past 2. The Home Secretary says the one-in, one-out migrant scheme agreed with France is robust enough to withstand potential legal challenges. Sir Keir Starmer secured the deal in the latest effort to reduce small boats crossing the English Channel. The scheme still needs the approval of the European Commission, and the French President Emmanuel Macron took direct aim at Brexit yesterday, blaming it for the small boats crisis. The Border Force and the RNLI have been deployed in the English Channel today as small boats have been spotted trying to come to the UK. The first Border Force boat carrying migrants has arrived at Dover. More vessels are out at sea. Yvette Cooper says migrants crossing the Channel will be detained as part of the deal with France.
The whole purpose of what we're doing is to bring down these dangerous boat crossings because we think no one should be making those boat crossings. What we did say, what the Prime Minister said yesterday, is there's no single silver bullet, whether it's about this new returns agreement, which frankly I think is the right thing to do, or any of the other measures that we're talking about. We've seen 6 years of people claiming that one single thing, particularly the previous government claiming one single thing, or opposition parties claiming one single thing, is going to solve it. What we need is a comprehensive approach that looks across the board.
Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philps said the UK's migrant returns deal with France is a gimmick which will be no deterrent whatsoever.
Look, I'm afraid this deal is another hopeless gimmick, just like Keir Starmer's pathetic claim a year ago to be smashing the gangs, which has dismally failed because record numbers of illegal immigrants so far this year have crossed the Channel, record ever numbers. This is another gimmick, just like the smash the gangs claim. And the reason for that is that only 50 illegal immigrants per week are going to get sent back to France. And that amounts to only 6% of the illegal arrivals. Now, that means that 94% of illegal arrivals are going to be allowed to stay in the UK.
Private companies are crashing in on billions of pounds in government contracts as researchers attempt to unravel the true cost of the UK's border security. One of the biggest contracts was £1 billion for the provision of maritime security drones. Another private contractor won a £7.7 million tender to provide marquees at migrant processing centres in Kent. Researchers at Open Democracy claim to have identified around £5 billion worth of contracts to provide services aimed at enhancing the UK's border security. The figures add to the cost of the wraparound services for Channel migrants. A National Audit Office report last month put the asylum seeker accommodation bill alone as high as £15 billion over a decade. Angela Rayner has been suspended by the Unite union over the recent Birmingham bin strikes. The union has also announced it'll review its relationship with the Labour Party. Sharon Graham, the boss of Unite, says Unite is crystal clear it'll call out bad employers regardless of the colour of their rosette. Angela Rayner has had every opportunity, they say, to intervene and resolve this dispute, but has instead backed a rogue council that has peddled lies and smeared its workers fighting huge pay cuts. A Downing Street spokesman said the government's priority throughout the dispute had always been Birmingham's residents. 2 elderly residents have died after a stolen BMW, which was being pursued by police, crashed into a care home. Highcliffe Care Home in Sunderland had to be evacuated following the serious collision on Wednesday evening. This morning, Northumbria Police said sadly 2 care home residents, a woman in her 90s and a woman in her 80s, passed away yesterday. 2 men, both 21, who were previously arrested in connection with the crash, have been re-arrested on suspicion of manslaughter. And finally, the UK economy shrank unexpectedly in May, contracting for the second month in a row. The economy contracted by 0.1%. The Office for National Statistics has said, confounding analysts who'd expected to see slight growth. The government has made boosting economic growth a key priority, and Chancellor Rachel Reeves said the latest figure was disappointing. Those are the latest headlines for now. More news in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to news alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
And here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3527 and €1.1588. The price of gold is £2,476 and 96 pence per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 8,942 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 10 minutes past 2, and Unite the Union has suspended Angela Rayner and could abandon the Labour Party. Yes, the organisation accuses the Deputy Prime Minister of backing Birmingham Council over those bin strikes rather than backing the workers.
The union has also announced it will review its relationship with the Labour Party. Sharon Graham, the boss of Unite, says Unite is crystal clear it will call out bad employers regardless of the colour of their rosette. Angela Rayner has had every opportunity to intervene and resolve this dispute, but has instead backed a rogue council that has peddled lies and smeared its workers, fighting huge pay cuts.
Well, Graham continued, the disgraceful actions of the government and so-called Labour Council is essentially a fire and rehire scheme that makes a joke of the Employment Relations Act and those promises. People up and down the country are asking whose side is the Labour government on, and coming up with the answer, not workers.
OK, joining us now is former Labour aide Stella Santaquido. Stella, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Well, what do you make of this? Angela Rayner, that she's been thrown out by the union. I mean, surely these two should be well in bed together.
I completely agree with you. They should be. They have a lot of common aims. I'm really disappointed to see that I myself am a member of Unite, and I think that the relationship the Labour Party has with unions is extremely important. I think that the Labour Party is the only vehicle through which workers' aims can be best served in government. And Angela Rayner is one of our biggest champions when it comes to championing unions, championing workers' interests. I don't understand what Unite is trying to do by picking up this fight with Angela Rayner. I understand unions having their disappointments with the government at the moment. And lots of people do, obviously, and we would not expect Labour to get into government and at every corner to agree with the unions, because obviously there will be disputes. But what's the point of doing this right now? I mean, obviously, Angela said that she had already resigned her union membership a few months ago. There is a dispute about Unite is disputing that.
Yeah,
I don't know
her register
whether...
of members' interests, which was updated 6 weeks ago, suggests that she was still a member on that. I mean, do you think that the comms team of Angela Rayner might have got something wrong there in trying to sort of mellow over this story?
What I think is that Unite thought it would make good clickbait for Twitter, because obviously it makes the headlines straight away when you're saying, oh, we are suspending the Deputy Prime Minister. And I find it very disappointing. And I think that it's not helping anyone at the moment, what they're doing, especially because it is targeting Angela Rayner, who is one of the strongest voices for workers.
Stella, Unite are one of the biggest donators to Labour and to Angela personally. Do you think that money might now be heading in the direction of Jeremy Corbyn and his new party?
I don't know to what extent they would be doing that. I would doubt that, because I don't think that the unions would be backing such a small party, such a small operation. I think that the Labour Party is still viewed by most people and by most union bosses as the best vehicle representing the interests of workers. I do not think Unite members would be accepting that.
But the Unite chiefs have always been much more aligned with Jeremy Corbyn than they have with Keir Starmer. I suppose there's a risk here that Keir Starmer, in trying to sort of almost move more to the centre, clearly has annoyed businesses with all of his tax rises on businesses, clearly has annoyed all of these trade unions with all of their attempts at moderation. I mean, does the government any longer have any constituency whatsoever? Alienating business, alienating trade unions, where does he find a gap?
So I disagree that Keir Starmer has alienated businesses. I do think that a lot of the industry is still seeing the government.
Business confidence is the lowest it's been in years.
as I think that a lot of people still view Rachel Reeves as their best bet as stability. I think that when it comes to the unions, there have been some exceptional cases a long time ago when they have backed new parties, but I doubt they would be completely. I doubt. To be honest, the reason why I find it so strange that they are attacking Angela Rayner is because I don't want to guess what will happen in the future. I cannot look into the future. But if there was going to be a new leader, it would probably be Angela Rayner. And Angela Rayner is more on the left of the party than Keir Starmer is. So I'm a bit confused as to why they would be weakening the candidate who is most likely to be next leader and most likely to represent their interests better than they think Keir Starmer is representing their interests. But I do agree with your point that the current government policies do seem to be a lot more pain for most people than they are than politics is about picking winners and losers, right? And at the moment, it does feel for some people that there are just more losers than there are winners.
I mean, Stella, 78% of people think that Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves combined are more chaotic than the former Conservative government, and they weren't exactly organised. Do you seriously think that Angela Rayner could possibly be the next Prime Minister of this country?
Yes, I do, and I don't agree with that. I don't agree that the current Labour government that's been in power for just a year and has had to clean up all of the mess from the last 14 years of Conservatives can be held to a similar standard, which they are, and they have been criticised a lot more. There has barely been a grace period for Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves, and I do think that this has really, really not helped.
People have ordered in the workmen to come and clean up the mess on the kitchen floor, but they've come in with very muddy boots and have made a mess all over the carpet. I mean, it seems like we've got new messes all to be cleared up, all thanks to these attempts. But Stella, we're going to have to leave it there. But Stella Santakido, thanks indeed for joining us.
Thank you. OK, now the UK economy shrank unexpectedly in May, contracting for the second month in a row. The Office for National Statistics said the economy contracted by 0.01%.
Or 0.1%.
0.1%.
But let's discuss this now with the economics editor of The Spectator, Michael Simmons. Michael, economists were expecting some growth in May, and instead it was precisely the opposite. This is not boding well for those expected tax rises come the autumn.
Yeah, it's not good news. I think every time we get a new economic release, it sort of confirms that tax rises are probably inevitable. The sort of forecasts that the Office for Budget Responsibility used to calculate the kind of headroom against the ironclad fiscal rule that the Chancellor says she's committed to will now be kind of looking a bit over-optimistic, and that means that there's this hole to fill, this black hole that could be between 20 and 30 billion pounds. Now, the Chancellor is, not keen, well, even if she was keen to cut the size of the state to pay for that, I don't think her backbenchers would let her. So her only serious options are kind of quite major tax rises.
I mean, she did paint herself into this corner by saying, I am not going to put tax rise on people, I'm not going to touch national insurance, etc., etc. It's a very small number, but how damaging is it for Rachel Reeves?
Well, I think in a way her credibility is already at rock bottom, right? She's one of the least, well-polled chancellors we've ever had. She's viewed incredibly negatively. I think she will try to claim that she's somehow stuck to her pledge, because what she's going to do, she might, not literally put, a penny on income tax, put VAT up, but she'll almost certainly extend the threshold freezes. So, for instance, when inflation increases people's pay, if they get pay rises, it drags people up. Tax brackets, it drags people into tax, and she can extend that freeze for another 2 years and get something like another 10 billion. And she can do that, and because it's a bit complicated and a bit hard to understand, she'll claim that she's not actually raised taxes, but let's be absolutely clear about this. This means more people paying tax and more people paying more tax. So it absolutely is a tax
We've spoken
rise.
about this fiscal drag before, but it's not just us who've discussed it. I mean, Rachel Reeves made a point of saying she would be uplifting these thresholds back in the previous budget, in last autumn. I've got a quote from her, actually, saying, I've come to, this is the words of Rachel Reeves, at that budget. She said, I have come to the conclusion that extending the threshold freeze would hurt working people. It would take more money out of their pay slips. I am keeping every single promise on tax that I made in our manifesto, so there will be no extension to the freeze on income tax and national insurance thresholds. She there said, in order to abide by her manifesto, i.e. no tax rises on working people, she had to lift those thresholds. So if she goes back on that, given what she said to the House of Commons at her last budget, I mean, that would be, by her own definition, surely, breaking that manifesto commitment.
So is she a liar or is she stupid?
Well, I think she's made a trap for herself. She had some decent, GDP figures at the start of the year, and rather than sort of being cautious about this, she basically said, this is my plan working, this gives me the money to U-turn on the winter fuel allowance, but she completely ignored what the ONS, what economists were saying, which is, oh, this is just a sort of amplified effect of businesses worrying about Donald Trump's tariffs that were about to come in. At that point, we didn't know how the UK was going to fare, so all this sort of consumption happened earlier in the year, and now we're seeing the effect of that's kind of passed through the system, and now we're sort of ebbing away and we're going back towards contraction, we're going back towards no growth, and as a result she's sort of banked it early and she's got nothing left to play for, so she's going to have to U-turn or be dishonest about something that she's previously committed to not doing.
And Michael, they might just quickly, we're running out of time, but just quickly, they've gone back on the winter fuel allowance, but the fiscal drag now will drag many pensioners into paying tax for the first time, even if they're on a basic state pension.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I mean, she's just too literal about, things that you feel directly about payments, about the exact tax rate. But things like fiscal drag that have a real negative effect, as you just said, as she said herself, that drag on the economy, that drag on employment, these things don't get thought about until it's too late, until they've already happened and done the damage.
Yeah. Michael, thank you so much. That's the economics editor at The Spectator, Michael Simmons there. Thank you very much.
Well, if you're feeling that the tax is coming, if you're feeling that you might be a bit out of cash, you might want to find the one way in this country you can get tax-free cash.
Rachel Reeves can't get her hands on it. And if you're a pensioner or a farmer or a small business owner, or I could go on, couldn't I? Here's how you can win it. Here are the details.
You have the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax, and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 26 minutes past 2. Now, the government is urging GPs to issue fewer sick notes and instead direct payment or patients towards gyms to support services as well to help people return to work.
OK, so it comes as the number of NHS fit notes hit. They're not sick notes anymore, they're fit notes, people. Hit 11 million last year. That's more than double the figure in 2015.
Extraordinary numbers. But will going to the gym sort it out? And will the doctors listen? Well, joining us now is the former presenter of Fat Families, Steve Miller. Steve, I suppose you're delighted by this suggestion.
No, it's sort of garbage. And I have to say, I'm fed up with this country. We have a personal responsibility pandemic, if that's the right use of my non-flowery language. And the problem here, you see, is we've done this before and many times, and it does not work. I did a bit of research on this, right? And I found a study in the Journal of Public Health, and it found that actually those that were not paying to go to the gym actually didn't lose weight as much as those that were paying to go to the gym. And I tell you why, and it won't be very politically correct. There's no motivation from many of these people. Yeah. They suffer with can't be bothered-itis, and that's what the GP should write on the sick note. Can't be bothered-itis. We need to empower GPs and give them the confidence that they can say to patients, no, I'm not signing your sick note. Now, if GPs are too worried about that, then maybe they have to, I don't know, send it to a neighbouring GP surgery and get someone's second opinion and for them to sign it. So it's not directly the patient's GP, if that kind of makes sense. But I also think on this sort of thing, you know, this is like training GPs now to be social workers, and this is going to be more cost. And I think the taxpayer is fed up to the back teeth of funding downright lazy people that can't get their backside down to a job centre to find a job. Yes, unemployment's going up, I know that, but at the moment there is still a lot of jobs around. And work is good for us. It's great for our, you know, our social engagement. It's great for our brain. We need to stretch our brain. But unfortunately, as I've said before here on the channel, we have too many people that enjoy staining the sofa. And we need radical change. But after the last week, now the welfare bill's not gone through because they're all too frightened about losing votes. I don't know what's going to happen. Now we're dumping it on GPs, getting them to become social workers to write, you know, what's it called? Is it a lifestyle note now or something?
It's a fit note or something or other, isn't it? Steve, playing devil's advocate here, I mean, you know, it's, you know, tough love, yeah, absolutely. Be honest with people. You need to basically get off your bottom, eat less, move more, etc., etc. Work is good for your mental health and your physical health. But there are lots of people that talk of mental health, do have mental health issues. They don't find it as easy as you make out to get off their backsides and go to the gym, get fit and go and look for work. It's not always that easy for some people.
Oh, we're in total agreement. I know that there are many people who are genuine, but I believe, in my opinion, there's many people out there that are frauds, that actually can go to the doctor, even face-to-face, and fake it till they make it, to get that sick note. That's the problem I have. And the key here is that what we've also done in the UK is we've nurtured this victimhood culture where everything, oh, you know, you should provide for me. That's now how we operate in this country. Everyone talks about, oh, it's my mental health. No, it's not. You're having a down day. Yes, there are people with genuine disabilities. Let's look after them. But as for those that are the fraudsters, no. And I'll tell you something else, right? If we were saying to those people, some of those people, if you don't sort it out, if you're not getting to the gym, you know, or doing whatever, then we take some of your benefit away by the week, a proportion of your benefit away. They'd all be back to work, trust me.
I suppose it's also about carrots and sticks. Currently, there are only carrots to do the thing that would be less productive. I mean, we've spoken before about the number of people...
Listen, Tom, the carrots, I'm no economist, but the carrots, even I know, are going to bankrupt us. If we do not get tougher, if we do not get firmer, firm but fair, bring back that Margaret Thatcher mentality, right, we're done for. We're done for.
No, it is extraordinary seeing the thousands of people who can claim a free car from the government with this higher rate of mobility PIP because they're fat. You can see on the spreadsheets people who list obesity as their primary condition, and there are thousands of people like that who are claiming free cars, which seems like the most perverse incentive in the world.
There is no reason to be fat. There is always a solution to sort yourself out, and we need to put that message out there. So rather than West Street and waffling on now, saying it's the GP signing them to go to a gym and all that, and they won't go, by the way, you know, we need to be firmer. We need to change the culture of this country and not to be afraid to say to people, no, it's not mental health and anxiety. You're having down days. Yes, let's protect those that are genuine. I'm all for that. But when it comes to obesity, the taxpayer is paying for cars for people that cannot be bothered to lose a bit of weight or walk and smell the fresh air. That's the reality.
Well, there are 2.8 million people out of work due to health conditions in this country. So, you know, hopefully we will get things moving in the right direction, whatever way we go about it. Steve, thank you so much, as always. That's Steve Miller, former presenter of Fat Families. Very strong views there. So let us know what you think, gbnews.com/you'll say, maybe you're affected by this, maybe you are suffering from obesity, you've got mental health issues and you want some help. Let us know your story. We're always here to listen to you.
Absolutely, and plenty more coming up on today's programme, including the first hosepipe ban of the year, which is now in force in Yorkshire, with warnings that more could follow after the driest spring in over a century. Could your area be next?
Good afternoon. The headlines at 2:30. The Home Secretary says the new one-in, one-out migrant scheme agreed with France is robust enough to withstand potential legal challenges. The government is urging GPs to issue fewer sick notes and instead direct patients towards gyms and support services to help more people to return to work. Angela Rayner has been suspended by the Unite Union over the recent Birmingham bin strikes. The union has also announced it'll review its relationship with the Labour Party. The UK economy shrank unexpectedly in May, contracting for the second month in a row. The Office for National Statistics said the economy contracted by 0.1%. Those are the headlines for now. More news soon.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's going to be a hot one today for many of us, with sunny skies widely across the UK. A little bit cooler on the east coast, a few mist patches. With high pressure sitting in the North Sea, we've got an east to southeasterly airflow across the country. That's why the heat is more distributed towards the west and the north of the country, but actually for the vast majority it's simply a sunny day, and it will continue to be so. One or two mist patches lurking off the coast of Northern Ireland, eastern Scotland, eastern England, but these really will be restricted to just a few coastal areas. Inland, it's clear blue skies. and rising temperatures widely the mid to high 20s, and for much of England and East Wales we're talking about the low 30s. And we end the day pretty warm across Scotland. Again, a few mist patches here and there around coastal parts, but inland plenty of sunshine as we head into the evening. And even at this stage, Glasgow still 27 Celsius. Northern Ireland still temperatures hovering around the mid-20s and 31, 32 Celsius even at 6 p.m. across some parts of the West Midlands, central southern England, East Wales. That, of course, will lead on to a very warm night in many spots, with temperatures in the west particularly high. In fact, some western hills and coasts could see temperatures stay at 20, 21 Celsius through the night. In the east, we will see some mist and low cloud creep into coastal parts. This will be patchy again, but it will be around first thing Saturday. So actually a cloudier start for the North Sea coast, and we've got that onshore breeze. So eastern coasts of England and Scotland will be kept cooler through Saturday, but elsewhere across the UK, it's perhaps the peak of the heat, with temperatures reaching 33 or 34 Celsius in the West Midlands and East Wales.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the A1 at Innerwick, northbound traffic should exercise caution due to debris. The M4 between Cardiff Gate and Corryton is closed for resurfacing, with diversions in place. In Kirklees, the M62 westbound has an incident, causing an hour's delay. Derbyshire's A38 northbound faces lane closures due to an accident. West Berkshire's M4 eastbound is down to one lane, with 50-minute delays. The A27 westbound near Portsmouth is congested with 10-minute delays. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and Cross Country face disruptions between Stoke-on-Trent and Stockport. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 37 minutes past 2. Now, a hosepipe ban is affecting more than 5 million people. It's in effect from today.
Yeah, who'd have thunk it, eh? Today's hot weather. Yorkshire is the first place to enforce a ban this year, with Yorkshire Water saying the region had experienced its driest and warmest spring on record.
Well, let's go over to our reporter, Steve Bennett, who's braving the heat for us there in Yorkshire. Steve, what's the scene?
Good afternoon to you both. Good afternoon, everyone. The reason why there is no water, take a look at this. I'll just step out of frame. This is one of the local reservoirs. This is here in West Yorkshire. Normally, the water line is up to those trees, and currently it's nowhere near there, as you can see. It's less than 50% full here in Batings Reservoir in West Yorkshire, and that's causing the problem. It's not just this one. There's several reservoirs in this area, and they're all like this and close to empty. So what that means is hosepipe ban has come into effect today for West Yorkshire, parts of Lincolnshire and Derbyshire as well. People are being told, don't wash your cars, don't water your gardens, which is an issue up here because they like to grow their plants. And I spoke to some of the locals to get their views on it, and here's what they had to say.
It's not very much water, and it's like this sometimes, but it's been a long while since it was last like this.
I think it's terrible, but it's inevitable.
But when we get the weather, the rain, there's nothing done with it. As you can see, it's gone.
So some of the folks we spoke to, they said they haven't seen it this low since 2020 during the pandemic era, but other people that we spoke to today said that within a few months, 3 to 4 months, this will be filled up again. Let me just step out of shot because the local hills, the water just runs down and refills these reservoirs very quickly. So the advice, as always, if you're not sure if the ban applies to you, get yourself to the Yorkshire Water website, where it has a list of all the restrictions, those who are exempt as well, which is important. If you have a blue badge, for example, you are exempt from this hosepipe ban, and it tells you as well about the fine, £1,000 if you're caught flaunting the rules, which of course you do not want to do. So the headlines here in West Yorkshire: there is no water, use it sparingly.
Steve, just quickly before you go, I mean, I don't know the facts and figures about Yorkshire Water in particular, but many of our water companies are simply guilty of not fixing huge numbers of leaks, which is another reason, apart from the dry weather, why there is such a water shortage in that reservoir behind you.
Yes, that is a fair point, and some of the locals did say that. They did say that they hope the leaks are being fixed, are being corrected, and there has been a statement from Yorkshire Water saying that they are continuing to do that. However, the hose-pipe ban is in place to get this refilled, to preserve the water that they have currently. But you're absolutely correct, leakage is still a problem, but the water companies assure us they are working on it.
OK, well, Steve Bennett, thanks indeed for joining us there live from Yorkshire. And what a remarkable scene to look at that reservoir and see where it normally is compared to where it is.
Yeah, no, that was quite shocking, but call me cynical. I mean, how much water is wasted by our water companies? And it's a hell of a lot. As I said, I haven't looked at what Yorkshire Water in particular have got up to, but I suspect there's a lot of wastage there. And it's the ordinary people that are paying huge amounts of money for their water bills.
I'm sure there is a lot of leakage. I mean, we've got very old, in some cases, Victorian water infrastructure. But, I mean, if we're looking for what's cost-effective for bill payers, is it going to be more cost-effective to go and fix every single leak in every single pipe, dig up the roads, go underneath your house, the amount of work that would take, versus digging a few more reservoirs? I mean, I know which one's the cheaper option.
It is, absolutely. We do need to dig more reservoirs. That's not going to happen overnight, whereas fixing leaks might be quicker. And meantime, we're back in 1976, and, you know, the older viewers amongst you will remember being told to share a bath, I think, with a stranger at one point was the advice.
Wow.
Which would be interesting these days, wouldn't it?
Solve the infertility crisis, perhaps?
Yes. With strangers, Tom.
Oh, you know,
I don't think we can
spice
do
of
that.
life, isn't it?
Any case.
The other thing is, Israel gets 80% of its water from desalination plants. Because they're coastal, they just use the Mediterranean. I mean, if we had cheaper energy in this country, we could have desalination plants. We're an island. We could use seawater, turn it into fresh water incredibly cheaply if you have abundant energy.
Yeah, I mean, Saudi Arabia and Qatar and many of the Middle Eastern countries do that as well. But the argument there is, well, it's not that hot and dry for that long, so we don't need to do that. You know what it's like.
Yeah, but I mean, like all of these things, I mean, if you're a wealthy country, you can choose to do lots of things that suddenly appear like they're not out of reach.
When you say wealthy country, any case, if you are, it's hot and sunny here at the moment, if you are jetting away somewhere even hotter and sunnier, here is the forecast from those top European destinations for you.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Whilst the UK will experience Mediterranean-like temperatures on Saturday, it's not going to be quite as hot through the Mediterranean as it has been recently. For the Canaries and for Madeira, fairly typical conditions for the time of year. Breezy, partly cloudy, otherwise fine. But we've got this area of thunderstorms developing across northern Spain, the Pyrenees, Andorra, southern France. They could be quite lively. And for Italy, for Greece, sunny spells. Not quite as hot, but it is going to heat up into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's loads more to come on today's show. Oasis are back in Manchester for the first time in 16 years, kicking off their long-awaited reunion tour in front of 80,000 fans. We'll be there for the build-up live.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Who is he? What's he doing there?
They already know who you are, though.
Don't miss this special reunion. Eamon and Anne together again, only on GB News Breakfast this weekend from 6 a.m.
And is that a gardening tan?
No, it's a cypress tan.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's just gone 2:45. Now, Supersonic is returning to Manchester tonight.
Yeah, that's right. Oasis duo Noel and Liam Gallagher play at Heaton Park later on today in a sold-out show.
Well, let's cross live to Manchester now, where our GB News North West of England reporter Sophie Reaper is there to soak up the atmosphere, dress up in all the right gear and tell us more. Sophie.
Well, I tell you what, both, we are soaking up the atmosphere, but we're also soaking up the sun because it is plus 30 degrees here. It is absolutely roasting in Manchester. Now, that's great because usually here in the northwest, I'm reporting to you underneath an umbrella in a big raincoat. So I'm sure a lot of people will be thrilled that it's dry today, but they've also had to add extra measures to make sure people are staying safe here today. Of course, this is a huge day for Manchester. We saw them kick off the tour in Cardiff last weekend, but this is the big one. This is the homecoming of the Gallagher brothers. They were born and raised about 20-30 minutes to that direction to my left. This is huge. It's 16 years since they broke up and they are finally back here in Manchester. Now, the gates are going to be opening in about 10-15 minutes time and people are going to be flooding in, but we're also expecting huge crowds of people outside Heaton Park today because whether or not they've been able to get tickets from that sound check, we've heard that you're going to be able to hear the music even to outside here. I know lots of people that are going to just be gathered around Heaton Park trying to soak up that atmosphere, trying to soak up some of the music, listening out for their favourites. Of course, we saw that set list, 24 songs. Only Oasis could have 24 songs on a set list and still be missing some huge classics. Should we try and speak to some people, though, here outside? People are loving it here. Come on, then, lovely. Come on the telly with me. I love your outfit, all in the Adidas, ready to go. Are you excited? I'm guessing you are.
Extremely excited, yeah. We've waited a long time for this, yeah.
We have, haven't we?
Absolutely.
Are you from Manchester originally?
Clitheroe. Well, near Manchester.
Near Manchester.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
We've seen people from Australia that have come down for this, so this is huge. What's your favourite song? What are you most looking forward to?
Slide Away. Slide Away,
yeah. Anyone else favourite songs?
Walking in the bushes.
We apologise for that language. I'm sure we'll be getting plenty of that today. You might be in luck, though, because they did play that Live Forever. I know a lot of people saying that. Other favourites?
Champagne Supernova.
Acquiesce.
Married with Children.
So, well, I don't know if you'll see Married with Children. That would be a special one. Lots of favourites, of course. Did you ever think, this is a question to all of you, did you ever think you would get to see Oasis ever again?
I've not been alive when they've been together.
Well,
20,
that
20
makes me
years.
feel old, but...
Yeah, I'm 16, I've never seen them
Wow.
together.
Now, there's been a lot of people talking about young people coming to this, you know, is it more of an older generation thing? But for you, I bet you're just as excited as some of these guys, aren't you? Have you grown up on this?
Yeah. All my life I've listened to Oasis.
So a very special day. Iconic, that is the word, isn't it?
Iconic, yeah.
Not another
It's for
band
everyone
like
at whatever age.
No, there really isn't, is there? And I think a lot of people today are going to be thinking this is, you could argue, the biggest event in music.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
First night in Manchester, it's the best, isn't it?
First night in Manchester, I have to say, me and my cameraman are very, very jealous of you all. We'll let you guys get on in there. I know gates open very soon. Get in there, stay safe, have a fabulous time, guys.
Thank you. See ya.
I'm very, very jealous. I'm very, very, very jealous, guys. I wish this was me going in. I've grown up on Oasis. I'm sure we're going to be listening from outside. We're going to be here all day now.
Up the Chelsea.
Up the Chelsea. I don't know about that here in Manchester. That's a controversial statement. But we're going to be here all day, bringing you lives from outside Heaton Park.
Sophie, how many nights are they doing there?
5 nights here in Manchester, Dawn. They did, I think it was 2 nights in Cardiff. They'll also be doing nights in London, Edinburgh, and in Dublin this year. But then, of course, then they're going to go all around the world with this tour. We're expecting a tour in Europe next year. So if you didn't get tickets, obviously there was a lot of controversy around tickets when they went on sale last August. If you didn't get tickets, I'm sure everyone will eventually get to see Oasis, as long as, fingers crossed, they can stay together. We've all got our fingers crossed here.
Brilliant stuff, Sophie. Thanks so much for soaking up that atmosphere, talking to those people live as well. And once again, apologies, live television can sometimes carry language risks, and that certainly did
Interesting language, but it looks like it's going to be a great day, great weather up there as well, which is, as Sophie says, very unusual in Manchester. It is normally under that grey cloud, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're going to turn to the United States now briefly, as the US President Donald Trump is heading to Texas, of course, after these catastrophic floods that killed at least 121 people over the last few days, 173 people still missing in Texas, and Donald Trump said he would be visiting as soon as he could. Here we're looking at live pictures of Air Force One on Joint Base Andrews. That's the airfield close to Washington, D.C., where Trump will be taking off from.
This is a week after that heavy rainfall caused the Guadalupe River to burst its banks, and, you know, as Tom said, 121 died, including dozens of children at that Christian summer camp, Camp Mystic. I mean, Donald is flying there with Melania to visit the areas, but there are lots of questions being asked about how this catastrophe has been handled, and questions to be asked, the response not just in Texas, but by the national government as well.
How quick were they to respond? Where were the politicians in this? I do feel a little sorry for the Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who was caught short on holiday on this. He was over in Europe and has been stuck away during that tragedy. But it is really shocking to see the number of deaths in such a rich part of the world, in such a developed part of the world. You do not expect that sort of thing to happen when it comes to natural disasters. I mean, this has got to be one of the worst natural disasters in this century in the United States.
And it happened incredibly quickly as well, and people were swept away, and, you know, bodies and survivors. People did survive as well, being swept away sort of 15 miles downriver. So it's absolutely terrifying. But again, as with Trump, there is a political thing here. He's been in touch with the governor. He's very close to Governor Abbott, who is obviously also Republican. And it's in contrast to how he dealt with what happened in California, a Democratic governor, Gavin Newsom, who obviously is not a big fan of. So there is that political thing there. But the bottom line is a lot of people have lost their lives, and including those little girls at that camp.
Yeah, really sad news there. Well, we'll be keeping an eye on Air Force One and on Donald Trump's journey as he travels to Joint Base Andrews there ahead of this flight down to Texas, where he will be meeting with the governor, I'm sure, and many involved in the emergency response to those
and including some
floods.
of the families as well. The families that have certainly lost their children in that awful, awful time.
Well, do stay with us here on GB News, because up next it is the one and only Martin Daubney. No doubt he will keep you up to date with the very latest from Trumpland, as well as everything else that's on the news agenda this afternoon. So do stay with us here on GB News. That's it from us.
Thanks
Dawn's
for
back
watching.
at the weekend.
See you at the weekend.
Here's
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's sunny and hot out there for the vast majority, a little bit cooler on the east coast, and it's here where there could be some low cloud appearing overnight. Otherwise, high pressure remains in charge. That high pressure sitting in the North Sea, maintaining sunny skies across the vast majority of the country and maintaining hot conditions for many, even as we go into the evening, temperatures remaining in the high 20s, low 30s in places. And after dark, despite the clear skies, temperatures aren't going to fall very far at all. Widely the mid to high teens and in some spots 20 Celsius. So an uncomfortable night for sleeping. And we do have some mist and low cloud returning to the east of the UK. Patchy in nature, but it'll be around first thing on Saturday. So not entirely sunny everywhere. I think for some of these eastern parts of Scotland, Shetland, eastern England as well, it will be grey skies first thing, some mist around. Further west, plenty of sunshine from the word go. Scotland, Northern Ireland, soon warming up. Likely to be the warmest day of the year so far in these areas. Likewise for Western England, Wales, temperatures already from dawn, we're talking about 20, 21 Celsius, rapidly rising through the morning. And we do see that low cloud and the mist in the east retreat back to the beaches. So for the vast majority inland, it's going to be clear skies. It will linger, though, for some of these coastal locations, keeping things cooler. And we do, of course, have this easterly airflow. So for the likes of East Anglia in the southeast, it's not as hot as previous heat waves, but with temperatures peaking further west at 33 or 34 Celsius, it will be hotter compared with previous heat waves. And for Scotland and Northern Ireland, the potential for 29, 30 Celsius, even 31 or 32 for parts of northern Scotland. It's remarkably hot for these locations. It then changes into next week, further showers to come and a drop in temperatures.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're kick-starting summer with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Poll, it doesn't surprise either Bev or I, shows that most Brits believe that Britain is in decline. 76% of us, though, did surprise. We fear political unrest and even violence.
And those fears come amid violent riots, of course, in Ballymena in Northern Ireland. They've left dozens of police officers injured and the area largely destroyed in some cases, particularly the local leisure centre.
Let's talk to our Northern Ireland reporter, Doogie Beattie. Doogie, this report comes on the back of sustained riots over, 6 days in the province.
They are putting undocumented immigrants into areas of high deprivation. There is a group here called Mears. 85% of their properties are in socially deprived areas, and those areas are now kicking back because in amongst those areas you have pensioners and so forth that have bought their houses back in the 80s. I spoke to a couple of them that were having to be moved out by their grandchildren.
Well, we know that people are not happy with. I think first thing to say is that people are worried about their living standards. They think they've declined, and actually strikingly, in a different part of the survey we found that 4 in 10 people feel like they were worse off since the COVID pandemic. That was actually particularly pronounced amongst reform voters, but overall people are very pessimistic about about their personal finances and their cost of living. So I think that's a huge driver. We also know that people aren't happy with the government's handling of immigration, and actually going back to that question about what's affecting people's living standards, which I think is a much better way of getting at how people are feeling about things like the economy. People perceive, including Labour voters, including a sizable chunk of Labour voters, that immigration has had a negative impact on their living standards. And I do think we're starting to see that filter through into pessimism about the country as a whole.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the show. It's a beautiful Friday afternoon. It's 3 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Dorby Show here on GB News, broadcasting for you live from the heart of Westminster and all across the UK. On today's show, the Unites Union has sensationally binned Angela Rayner, accusing her of backing Birmingham Council and not workers in the city's notorious and long-winded bin strike. And now Unite, the Labour Union biggest donor, to the tune of £554,000 last year, is threatening to defund Labour if they sack workers. Same old Labour, same old union rubbish. And with chilling echoes of Lucy Connolly, Reform MP Sarah Pochin has today visited a constituent who was jailed for 28 months for posting an unwise tweet. Shortly, I'll join her live from outside HMP Kirkham. And a racist bonfire in Northern Ireland was set fire to last night, burning a dinghy full of illegal immigrants' dummies. Local police are